And now, race fans, with the most famous words in motorsports, here's your Grand Marshal, Bill Engvall.
Welcome, race fans. My 4 favorite words in the world are, gentlemen, start your engines!
This is going to be something here this afternoon. This 2-mile track, always challenging for the drivers. We'll have the starting lineup and the green flag when we come back to Michigan on TNT. TNT Sports presents NASCAR. Today, it's the Lifelock 400 for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series from the Michigan International Speedway in Brooklyn, Michigan. It is a partly sunny, somewhat cloudy afternoon. About 76 degrees. You see the track temperature. Yes, there is a chance of rain, but that's much later in the day. Hi, everybody. Bill Weber along with Wally Dahlbeck and Kyle Petty. Thanks for having us in for the race. We've got a lot to talk about, but first we got to do the important business, right?
Happy Father's Day, Senior.
Happy Father's Day to the King.
And happy Father's Day to my father-in-law, Grady Allen. Now, let's move ahead, talk about the weather. Qualifying here was rained out. You got guys lined up by points, but that's not always a good thing.
No, well, it isn't, and when we saw in final practice, we thought it was going to be hot. It's about 12 degrees cooler track temperature right now, which makes a big difference on a track like Michigan. That's a good thing, I think, for the drivers, because usually when it cools down, it gets more grip. Also, it's cooler inside the cars. But a lot of guys made changes after final practice, so it's going to be interesting to see if they went in the right direction.
Well, they also made changes to a car that has not raced here before.
Yeah, they've never run the COT here. They've run the COT in California, and we had one of the better races that we've had in California because of this car. I truly believe that. Just as Wally said, yesterday these guys fought it because the racetrack was so slick. But with the weather change, a little bit of coolness, some drivers have made some changes. I'm looking for something really, really exciting today, to be honest with you, because we didn't have qualifying. So a lot of these guys that are good cars are starting at the back and got to work their way through.
That's because the field was set by the NASCAR rulebook. That's basically points. We'll take a look at our starting grid presented by Miller Lite. Again, this is basically by the NASCAR owner points. Kyle Busch, the point leader on the front row, along with Jeff Burton. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is in row 3, along with Carl Edwards. Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin in row 3. In row 4, it's Greg Biffle and Jeff Gordon. Row 5, Casey Kane, looking for back-to-back wins, and Kevin Harvick. Field out on the track. We'll take you through the rest of the starting grid, and Wally's going to jump on the radio.
Let's see if we can reach Junior. Hey, Dale Jr., this is Wally up in the booth. Can you hear me? Try it one more time. Dale Jr., this is Wally up in the booth. Do you hear me? Hey, man, you guys made a lot of changes after final practice. I think you guys were pretty loose. You were looking to make some changes. Does this track temperature, did it play into the changes you made, or where do you think you're at?
I think the cooler track temperature would be better for me as a driver, but yeah, we had a rookie car. We unloaded. We've been flirting around that setup all weekend, and we made some changes, but they were in that direction back to where we started. But I think we did the right thing. Well, hopefully we did.
Yeah, nothing like barreling down into turn 1, hoping that it works. Good luck today.
Yeah, simple.
And the cars continue to warm up here at Michigan on this 2-mile track. See they're back in row 18. You'll see Sam Hornish and Michael Waltrip take you through these final few cars. Check with Larry McReynolds.
Well, one thing we love about coming to this 2-mile racetrack, we've seen it for years, old car, new car, is you can move the groove around. And yesterday in practice, we saw these guys already up at the top of the racetrack. But when you run at the top of the racetrack, there's no free lunches. And Matt Yoakum is with the crew chief of the car that finished second in both races here last year, Kevin Mannion. He has his concerns about that.
And they already had some scrapes on that car. Bono, from the middle portion to the end of a run, what's your biggest concern for Martin today?
Well, Matt, if you remember last year here, the race closing in on Carl Edwards at about 2/10 a lap. We ended up scraping the wall and knocking the toe out a little bit, and ended up losing a total of 4/10 and wasn't able to get the win. So today is the middle part of the end of the run is definitely staying off that wall. Martin said he drove around in the truck and already seen that the groove is really shortening up. So trying to keep it out of the wall and keep it going forward. And that's what we'll be looking for today. And also want to say hi to my dad, happy Father's Day, and my daughter Avery turned 5 this week.
Boo Bear turns 5. Happy birthday. This team almost perfect last year. They were second in both races.
Thanks, Matt. Hope you guys have a great race down there on pit road this afternoon. See the sun trying to break through out there. Here's our race analysis. Over $5 million, 400 miles. Pit road speed is 55 miles per hour. The pit window, 40 to 44 laps on fuel. And in recent races, about a half lap from going green here, we have seen a number of pit road speeding penalties.
Yeah, we have. Sorry, Wally.
Go ahead.
I do believe we have, yes. And the pit road speeding stuff is going to be critical here because there's so many green flag stops. We have the potential.
Exactly. And you can make up time or lose time depending on how hard you charge into the pits or to that first timed line. So you really want to try to get as much as you can get.
And here's a number for you. There was only one speeding penalty in this race last year. It happened to Carl Edwards on lap 69, and he went on to win the race. See how it all plays out this afternoon. 15th race of the season. Again, qualifying rained out. The starting field lined up by the NASCAR rulebook. Kyle Busch, Jeff Burton, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Carl Edwards, Denny Hamlin, the top 5. Pace car slowly brings them through turn 4. Very tight in the points. Guys trying to make the chase. Very fast track and a challenging turn 1 for all 43 drivers. Fans come to their feet, lined up along pit road. All the teams watching closely, getting ready for the green flag here at Michigan. Glad you're along for the ride this afternoon here on TNT. Green flags in the air. Bonus points for Kyle Busch. Leads the first lap.
Yeah, he got a really good start. It looked like he was shot from a cannon going down into turn 1 and turn 2. 48 car, Jimmy Johnson working the high side right now, trying to pick up a couple of spots.
Jeff Burton didn't seem to have a lot of confidence in his car when we talked to him before the race. See how it works out? Johnson busting the move to the inside.
See all these guys, a lot of these guys right down on the bottom right now, even some in the middle of the track. Kyle, that's going to change, I think, in a hurry. These guys are going to move up to the wall within the next 4 or 5 laps, I believe.
It changed yesterday in practice really fast. Those guys, and you spoke to Junior earlier in the broadcast here. He went out and started at the top of the racetrack. Here he's trying to hustle it along the bottom of the racetrack, but he's in a good pack right now.
And I think you got to be able to take advantage of the bottom of the racetrack with good tires. Right now, the tires are good, and you've got the grip. Every single lap you run, the longer you run, you lose that grip, and you use more racetrack.
Trouble.
Blaney.
First caution. Comes out on lap 3.
It's in the rear end or something. So I felt it half down the front straightaway and then just spun out.
Go back, take a look, see what we can see.
Obviously talking about something, he feels something broke in the back of the car. He was pretty much by himself.
Pretty much by himself and pretty much almost out on the straightaway, not where it would, you know, he's in the middle of the racetrack here. You see him, he comes up, and it just jumps from him right there.
Yeah. Started 29th.
Something like that. It's hard to tell. So an axle will do that.
That's right.
Bust an axle.
Could have busted an axle. He said you heard that radio where he said, I felt it in the middle of the front stretch, and he said, and all of a sudden I was around. So he knew he had an issue. Maybe that's why he was checking up a little bit.
Early trouble for Dave Blaney on board with Terry Labonte. Watching right in front of him. Whew. Under caution at Michigan. Pace car heading to pit road, about to go back to green. Dave Blaney was running 28th when he spun. He's been running at the finish in the last 16 races here at Michigan. That's the longest current streak. We go back to green. Axle problem is the report we heard from pit road.
That's what it looked like from the booth. Like a left rear axle could have broken. Jimmy Johnson to the high side. He's got the momentum. He's got the spot.
That looked kind of easy.
After the start of the race, when the 18 just drove away from everybody, the 48 did make that pass look easy.
I think the 18 is going to probably settle in here. I think, you know, those guys were looking for a setup on final practice, and we'll see. Although Kyle doesn't like to be behind very often.
No.
So.
On board with Carl Edwards, charging toward turn 1. Jimmy Johnson got the 5 bonus points for leading that lap.
Tell you, with this car, they are off the gas forever compared to the old car. You can notice that from the onboards.
Yeah, that was good. I like to hear the in car because you heard him go and then get back in it wide open. That's my sound effect. I do it in the car sometimes when I'm out there too. I sing to myself if you'd like for me to sing.
There'll be none of that.
Only to yourself.
Ralph?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Now, broken left rear axle is the problem for Dave Blaney's number 22. Now the problem for the crew is getting the broken piece out. Not the easiest thing to do. Trying to knock it out so they can replace it and try to get him back into this race.
Thanks, Ralph. Nice hustle down there. You see the guys working hard, and it is hot under that car. Under that caution, about the last 10 guys in the running order came to pit road. Only got about 2.5 laps under the green, but they came for fuel and tires. Regan Smith runs in the 32nd spot. He was the last car to stay out.
Man, Junior got a really good run off the 4 right there. Going to take the 4th spot away from Jeff Burton. Burton takes a look down on the bottom.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88 amp car.
There you go. Fine tune that, man. You're going to fly here. Doing good.
Jeff Burton right behind him.
You see when they get to the corner, the guy that runs in high, he kind of checks up a little bit, and the inside guy runs in on him. But just like Wally said a minute ago, coming out of turn 4, you get such a run on that high line to just pull down the front stretch.
In that pack, you see the 83 car. That's Brian Vickers. He started 18th. And he's 8th, trying to get 7th from Jeff Gordon.
But that's a good example of what we talked about in the opening, too. Because qualifying was rained out, you had really good cars in practice yesterday that ended up starting back in the pack. Now, last week at Pocono, the 18 car started almost dead last,
right.
Because of and made very, very little progress because of the way that racetrack is. Because this seems to be a multi-groove racetrack, and you got guys running at the wall.
In the middle. Water's a little over 225, 245 oil.
That's Jeff Gordon talking about his oil temperature and just basically giving a report. But because this is a multi-groove racetrack, these guys are coming through the pack a little bit better this week than they did last week at Pocono.
See that get up to 205 miles an hour going into turn 1?
Yeah, this is a fast racetrack, and you carry the speed down way into the corners here. You know, you don't just let off here. You're still on the throttle as you're turning the car at this racetrack.
This is for 6th. Vickers and Casey Kane. Casey Kane in that 9 car won last week at Pocono, and a couple of weeks before that at Charlotte. All that after the victory in the All-Star race.
Jeff Burton started in 2nd, back to 5th. Casey Kane's taking a look, so have to get a report on how Burton's car is.
And you saw that. You saw the 9 pull away from the 83. Now the 83 drives around him on the outside because the 9 car was forced to go the inside because the 31 car was running in his groove through 1 and 2.
Vickers up against the wall. Slides by Burton. Now this is, watch the replay down low.
Wow, got real crowded up there. And they got away with it.
It's David Rudiman in that 44 in the middle there.
Oh, my goodness.
Let's just go 4 wide. Why not?
Yeah, why not? We've
There's
already
plenty of pavement down there.
We run into each other 3 wide. Let's just see if we can do it 4.
It's Elliott Sadler's on board.
Oh, Sadler got a big run on the 38 car. David Gillen had to check up, and he had no place to go.
No.
That's a great shot of how you can race here, though, at Michigan. I mean, that really looked bad, but it really, I mean, it's wide enough, and you can get away with that here.
Yeah, and you saw the 38 car had plenty of room to the outside of him, so he just kind of held his line because he didn't know whether the 19 was going to stick it in on the outside of him coming out. So all those guys did a really good job. Even though they were in contact, those guys did a really good job, and the spotters did too, explaining to everybody where they're at. Because we've seen some of that earlier this year where there was miscommunication between drivers and spotters, and we saw guys pinned in the outside wall.
Let's check with Matt Yoakum.
Temperatures getting closer to how they were in final practice, Bill, and Jeff Burton says his biggest issue, the hindrance for the 31 machine, he just needs it to turn better when he starts to get back in the gas. That's where he's losing ground as a 24th Gordon is working by on the high side.
Tell you what, Vickers has gotten around Earnhardt as well. As you watch this pack, there's Vickers in that 83, comes in off the second place finish, Earnhardt in the 88. These Red Bull cars look good.
Vickers is carrying some a little bit of momentum from coming off. I mean, they're going to capitalize on what they did last week, and it looks like he's picked up exactly where he left off.
How about it, Lindsay?
Bill, you guys are exactly right talking about that second place finish that he had last week. And talking to Vickers, he was very candid saying how much that finish just meant to him, to his team. It did give them a world of confidence. His crew chief just got on the radio and said, man, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Just weave her up in there.
Some other guys that are on the move forward, Robbie Gordon, J.J. Yaley, and A.J. Allmendinger in the 84 car, team car to Vickers, Larry.
Well, yeah, I know we're talking about the good finish last week that Brian Vickers had, finishing second at Pocono, but I think this started well before that. You go back to Lowe's Motor Speedway. He had a car that could win the Coca-Cola 600 when the left rear wheel fell off. Spin ahead to Dover, another top 5 run going, got hit with 2 pit road speeding penalties. And Bill, remember your points graphic at the top of the show? This team has moved with only 112 points out of 12.
Yeah, that pack behind 12th is pretty intense.
Another thing on Vickers, and Larry, you know, we had a little meeting with him earlier in the week and talked to him in his truck. He gives a lot of credit for this team's turnaround to Jay Fry, to the front office, and that is truly phenomenal to hear a driver give the front office credit for doing anything except getting a personal service deal. You know what I mean? But he gives a lot of credit to Jay for coming in, being a cheerleader, organizing, and kind of taking these teams and sending them in the right directions.
See how it all pans out this afternoon. Jimmy Johnson is the race leader, followed by Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards, Brian Vickers, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. at Michigan. Coming around to complete lap 21 here at Michigan in the Lifelock 400. Jimmy Johnson is the race leader, 7th time this season. Jimmy has led a race. His best finish here, 3rd. Back in August of last year, Dave Blaney's car has gone to the garage as they continue to work on that axle issue. Time now for the AT&T Race Talk poll question. Who has been the hottest driver in 2008? Fans, you can text the word race to 191 on your AT&T wireless phone and vote for who has been the hottest driver on the track this season. Right along with Jeff Burton, there's your race leader, Jimmy Johnson, in the Lowe's Chevy. Leads by more than 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, well, he better enjoy that lead.
Why is that?
Because I think there's a guy in a Red Bull car that's coming. Vickers he is running them down.
This is a little deeper in the field. It's Kevin Harvick, Mark Martin. It's back 13th and 14th.
There you go, bud. Go get him.
What did you call this place? The hot dog wrapper?
Capital of the world. And I do not know why. I mean, it's like, of all the places we run, when you drop the green flag, and they clean this racetrack. They sweep it, they do all this stuff, but they're just wrappers everywhere that get on the grills of these cars.
And that can lead to an overheating issue. Martin Truex Jr. in the 1, Mark Martin in the 8.
He's flirting with it right there. Truex was coming off that corner a little bit.
Truex gets the position from Mark.
You know, I saw Mark in an interview earlier, and he was talking about and he was talking about when you run good here, what did you do good here? And he said he rolled through the middle of the corner. He said, but I cannot make this car roll through the corner. And he said, we've really, really hammered it. He said, I'm just going to beat the bottom to death if I can, because at least I can de-wedge the car and make the car, which means get down on the flat a little bit and knock a little wedge and make the car turn.
Wow, that 83 car is hooked up.
Impressive, huh?
It is.
Yeah, because it doesn't look like he bobbles. I mean, some of these guys are running and they bobble a little bit. I've not seen his car out of shape yet.
Okay, that's 18th to 2nd for Brian Vickers in 24 laps.
That's impressive. that is impressive. I don't care. You know, we hear these drivers complain, and you hear everybody complain. Clean air.
Settle in, get smooth travel.
That's Dario Franchitti off the pace.
But you hear these drivers complain, clean air. I got to be in clean air. I can't pass with these cars. I can't do this and can't do that. For a guy to drive from 18th to 2nd in that short a period of time against this level of competition.
And the good thing about this place is you can at least find clean air at this racetrack because it's wide enough. If you know, there's a lot of racetrack out there to use.
We've already seen that. These guys are looking for clean air 4 wide down the front stretch for no apparent reason.
They go under the hood on Franchitti's car. There's Jimmy Johnson. He leads. Another guy leaving the pack behind him. Matt Kenseth started 16th, and he's up to 5th. There's Matt. Carhartt colors this weekend. Sorry, KP.
No, and I don't think we're surprised about this because this is a Roush organization. You know what I mean? We talked about the Roush organization. I think we all three in the booth and all week long have thought, hey, Ford, Roush. Here you got the 99, the 17, you got the 16 coming up through there. You know, so I don't think this is a huge surprise. I think the huge surprise right now is the 83 to me.
Ralph, you're not surprised, are you?
No, I'm not. And I'll tell you what, it's a pretty good thing to be Matt Kenseth's dad. His dad's name is Roy. Last year, Matt gave Roy a brand new Harley Davidson. This year, he's giving him a brand new Shelby Mustang KR. That's a King of the Road 500. Those are coming out just now, highly sought after. So what did Matt get from his son Ross? A Chicago Bears Cup. Problem with that is Matt's a huge Packers fan.
Good point. It's Casey Kane and Greg Biffle.
Biffle's slowly been picking them off.
Dave Blaney has returned to the track, and Franchitti's back out as well. Lindsay?
He is, because they think that the problem they had is that the valve spring broke. They brought it in, put up the hood, took a good look at it, decided that they'd go on, send him back out. They gave him a little bit of gas and sent him on his way, Bill.
Thank you for that update.
It's going to be a long day for Franchitti.
It normally doesn't get better.
Yeah, it's not going to get better. If he's
the
got
second one will break eventually.
Eventually, and then it all ends up down in the oil pan at some point in time, and it's the end of your day.
Kenseth the 4th, passing Carl Edwards. Jimmy Johnson continues to lead, but Brian Vickers gained 0.4 of a second last lap. He's coming 2.3 seconds now behind the race leader. TNT Sports at the Michigan International Speedway in Brooklyn, Michigan, the Lifelock 400, and that's the distance from 1st to 2nd. We went to break, it was 2.3. Now it's 0.7 of a second.
Yeah, he gained a lot. Now it's going to be interesting to see, now that he's not in clean air anymore, so to speak, you know, how much he'll gain on him. But if they're running in different places, if Vicker runs a different line, he's going to be able to pull it off. But so far, they look like they've been in the same place on the racetrack.
It's you're right. It looks like they've been in the same place. The one thing Vickers does do is roll in on him really fast getting in the corner.
This is 6th and 7th. Earnhardt in the 88. And Biffle in the 16. Casey Kane in the 9. They're racing for positions. And Vickers is right there looking for the lead as they come across the start-finish line and head for turn 1.
Got a big run on him. Going to take a look at the high side. Up. I think this is where Vickers wants to be to make this pass.
I think Jimmy kind of conceded the lead about halfway down the front stretch. You saw him kind of pull to the inside to give Vickers the high side. But you weren't going to hold Vickers back for long.
18th to 1st for 24-year-old Brian Vickers in just 33 laps. You saw the 40 of Franchitti slow on the track, getting the black flag.
I believe there was smoke coming out of the pipe. We figured Yeah, you know, when you break a valve spring this early, it's going to get ugly. The oil gets heavier.
I would
with
rather,
metal.
if I broke a valve spring this earlier, I want to happen to me exactly what happens to him. I don't want to ride out there all day long.
Johnson coming back.
And, you know, this is interesting because maybe right here when Vickers came up and caught him and Johnson moved down, maybe he found a little bit more grip down low because he had not been running down there, or maybe he's just experimenting a little bit to find out what Vickers has got.
Matt Yoakum.
Well, Bill closing in on the first round of pit stops in about another 7 laps. The only thing Jimmy Johnson has said on the radio was he was moving around his line. He wanted his spotter, Stevie Reeves and Chad Knaus, to keep him abreast of what the 83 was doing as far as his line, Vickers, but also if his lap times picked up or dropped down. Right now, Jimmy says the car is a little too tight in the center. He needs a little more help, too, on the forward bite and exit. The car pretty stout.
Matt Kenseth in that 17. Kyle Busch in the 18. Kenseth third. Busch fourth. Again, this is first and second. Vickers did get his 5 bonus points for leading a lap. Wants to lead a few more. And this is just 35 laps in, working lap 36.
You see Jimmy come back under him on the inside here. And Jimmy has found some grip down here on the bottom. You get the run on the high side, but this has been a pretty good race for the last couple of laps.
You got a little bit loose right there. And
just like, and like we said, Vickers' car has been rock solid steady. But you saw the 48, like you say, get a little loose, move a little bit.
And when you're down on the bottom like that, Kyle, you've got to get a little bit more aggressive with the throttle if you're going to try to get up and slide in front of somebody coming off the corner. And that may have been where that thing broke loose just a little bit. When you're up on the top, got a little bit more to work with as far as grip and the throttle.
And you can be a little bit smoother with it. You can roll onto the throttle when you're on the top. When you're on the bottom, you got to get that instant go, and you've got to jump in the gas hard.
Exactly.
And sometimes it just skates the front and snaps loose like that.
Update a couple of other cars. A report from spotters around the track that the 12 car of Ryan Newman might be spitting some water out on the racing surface. And Michael Waltrip is having a good run from 36th to 18th. Matt, what do you know about Newman?
Roy McCauley told Ryan about 5 or 6 laps ago, Bill, they had debris on the grill and to keep an eye on the water temperature. His other big issue, the car is just extremely tight. Earlier they were talking about making a 3-round change on the track bar. Now when he hits pit road in a few laps, they're looking at going even more, 4 to 5.
Getting close to that pit window.
You know, the one interesting thing about these cars, and we've seen it in the past here, when as you see some of these cars start to come down pit road early, but it's when you had trash on your grill, we saw it before, you could get right up behind somebody and it would suck away. The problem is the opening in these cars are down under that, right above the splitter. You see the 83 coming down pit road, but it's right above that splitter, and you can't, it won't blow off. It's just on there.
Lindsay.
The 83 car pulls in, and guys, I don't think Brian Vickers could be much happier with his car. They're going to give him some gas, give him 4 tires. He had been a little strategic out there. He had something on his grill. That's why he had tucked back behind Jimmy Johnson on the track to get it off. He did. These guys said we could not have a better race car right now.
A lot of traffic, green flag, pit stops.
That was close.
Close for Vickers right there.
Vickers, yeah.
Casey Kane has been on and off of pit road. There's Martin Truex Jr. All this coming, working lap 39, Matt.
They've already made the track bar adjustment for Martin Truex Jr. The car a little too on the free side. He's away. Meanwhile, Jimmy Johnson's team, they are waving their sign, waiting for the 48 to hit pit road. Dominated this event a year ago, but like so many people talk about as Jimmy Johnson slides to stop, Larry touched out his keys. Fuel mileage always plays into the strategy here. Significant change. Jimmy, a little too free at exit. Marty?
Matt, Kyle Busch comes to pit road. He said his car is a little tight in the center, loose off. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment to this car, and they thought about a chassis adjustment, which they waved off at the last moment. He lost the lead to Jimmy Johnson, but kept up pretty well, Lindsay.
Carl Edwards happy with their stop as well. They gave him 4 tires, fuel, made a slight air pressure adjustment because he's saying loose into turns, a little bit tight off.
And, you know, I think now that these guys, this is a very important pit stop because I think they make the adjustments now for the track temperatures. And the way it looks, I think the temperature is going to be a little bit more consistent. And I am an outdoor expert. You are. For Bass Pro Shop. So I think that this is a perfect scenario for a race driver and a race car, though, because you're not going to be chasing the track.
Marty.
Kurt Busch already leaving pit road, Bill. His water temperature at one point, he says, was 290. They had paper on the grill. They also pulled a piece of tape off that front grill trying to keep that car cool. Dale Earnhardt Jr. leaves pit road. He said his car rolling over on the right rear way too loose. They made a wedge, also an air pressure adjustment for Dale Earnhardt Jr. just trying to tighten that thing up. He said it did get better, though, the longer they ran.
Under the watchful eye of Tony Eury Jr. That's Michael Waltrip, one of a handful of cars that pitted on lap 4. Michael is the race leader. That's 5 bonus points. That's big for him because he is outside that top 35 in owner points.
You know, the one thing that Vickers running as fast as he's running right now, he's a second faster than Michael Waltrip. Now, Michael has not pitted yet, but he's a little over a second faster sometimes than Michael is on the racetrack. But the one thing Vickers running as fast as he's running, it forces those other guys to come down pit road off their schedule. They may have wanted to run another extra 2 laps or an extra 3. But if that guy's out there and he's already running 4/10 faster than you on old tires, and you know he's going to put on new tires, he's going to stretch it on you when he goes back out there.
And here comes Michael to pit road. That will cycle us through the stops.
Good job, buddy. 4850.
And Vickers will once again move to the lead. So it will be Vickers by about a little over 2 seconds ahead. Jimmy Johnson.
You know, this is what always amazes me. Okay, you hear drivers talk about getting that clean air, getting that clean racetrack. All right, there is no clean racetrack out there right now. Everybody's in traffic. I don't care if you're the leader. I don't care if you're the 10th place guy. I don't care if you're the 40th place guy. We're so spread out at this point in time. There is no clean air. So these guys are going to struggle to catch back up to Vickers. And this is a point in a race where you kind of get that maintained. Everybody just maintains their distance. You got to be somebody special like the 83 car to get around people.
DJ Richardson, rear tire changer, the 88 Dale Earnhardt car, going to work.
Lifelock 400 here in Michigan for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, and this guy has been quite a story. That's Brian Vickers. He finished 8th here last August. That's his best Michigan finish, but he's gone from 18th to 1st today, leads by just under 2 seconds over Jimmy Johnson. Here is our Toyota driver update. You see Vickers up front, Kyle Busch, Tony Stewart back in the 10th position, Denny Hamlin 15th, and Michael Waltrip in the 19th position after leading a lap as we cycle through those green flag pit stops. Our Toyota driver update.
But Jimmy Johnson's not far behind right now. He's only about 1.5 seconds behind the 83 car. They're running about the same lap times depending on, you know, what they do in traffic right now.
Yeah, the 83 is not as dominant as he was when he ran him down early in the race. And just like Wally said earlier, just like you said earlier, this is going to be an important pit stop. They'll be able to make an adjustment and get better or get worse or wherever. And the 48 obviously made a slight adjustment that has picked him up those 2/10 to at least be equal to what Vickers is at this point.
Oh, this is a mess back here. That's Matt Kenseth in the 17.
Michael McDowell there in the 00 car and the 18 car.
McDowell is a lap down. Sorry about that.
Kyle Busch is trying to get some spots.
Ralph, who are you watching?
Well, we've been paying attention to Matt Kenseth down here. He was a little loose on the exit right before that pit stop. They came in, took a little air out of the right rear, tightened him up just a little bit. And one of the biggest things is to help cool the car down by cleaning all that debris off the front end of the 17.
And it probably helped to loose off a little bit too, depending on how much garbage is up there. You get a lot of garbage on that front. It also, you know, heats up your car, but also pins the nose just a little bit. Maybe not as much on these cars, the older cars.
Yeah, no, it still pins them. It's a little bit. It's not that 20 or 40 or 50 pounds of downforce that you used to get. But when you go to qualify, these guys still tape off.
Marty, wake up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Weber. I was down here sleeping. Actually, I was listening to Kyle Busch on the radio. And Wally and Kyle, I have a question for you. Kyle spent most of that run, the first run, really experimenting. He ran the bottom, he ran the middle, he ran the top, and then he asked asked the spotter, Jeff Dickerson, which one was best. Where was I fastest? They determined Kyle was best on the bottom. So really, they used that first run kind of as an experimentation.
And that's what it looked like to me. After he got, he ran up front there, it looked like he just kind of settled down in the spot, and he was just trying some different things right now. Not sure why he's running that far down on the bottom of the straightaway. I have no idea there, but
he's fast. But he's making time doing it. But he is coming off turn 4 and just cutting straight left down to the bottom of the racetrack and running below that line.
Same, but pretty good. I mean, this is about it.
And why, when you say, well, why does he ask his spotter? Well, you think sometimes you're out there sliding all over the place and you think you're flying, and you're not. You're saving yourself and you think you're flying. So you try some different lines, and the spotter can look at that watch, or your crew chief look at that watch and just say, hey, you're a lot better here. It may not feel better or it does feel slower, but you're faster on the watch. So that's why you ask a spotter where it looks the best.
Exactly. And how many times have you done it? I know I've done it. You've done it. How many times have you run out there and you thought, God, that was the greatest lap I ever run? And because
it's like a 0.5 or even a 0.25. Center's about a 1 better, I guess.
They're talking in code.
Yeah, no, well, basically what he was saying was it's about a 0.25 better than what it was. He's giving him on a scale of 1 to 10, which is fairly good because it's a very simplistic way to tell your guy, is it a 10? Yeah, that's a 10. Is it a negative 10? Yes, it's a negative 10. But I've run 100 times and thought that was a great lap, and they come in and said, was you comfortable? And I said, yeah. And they said, should have been because it was slow as you know what.
Back in the pack, A.J. Allmendinger and Sam Hornish, Michael Waltrip have moved up from their starting spot, but Brian Vickers from 18th to 1st with 52 in the books at Michigan. It has gone from mostly cloudy to mostly sunny here in Brooklyn, Michigan. The Lifelock 400 for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Good crowd on hand. Glad you're along for the ride here on TNT this afternoon. Brian Vickers is the race leader, a little over a second ahead of Jimmy Johnson. Then it's Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch, and Carl Edwards. Earnhardt Jr., Casey Kane, Greg Biffle, Jeff Gordon, and Tony Stewart. The top 10, 56 laps complete in this 200-lap, 400-mile race here at Michigan. So Vickers leads. Let's take a look at our Haynes comfort zone. So take it away, Larry McReynolds.
We're getting into some of the hottest races of the season, and it's very important to keep our driver a little bit cool and a little bit comfortable. Well, we can't have regular air conditioner. We can't roll our windows up. So what we can do is get some cool air to the helmet. How we do that, we have a duct on the outside of the race car. Air goes in that duct through this hose to this cool box unit. It has coils in it that cools that air down. It then goes through this hose to the driver's helmet. The theory, if we keep the driver's head and brain cool, it actually thinks the whole body's a little bit cooler. If we can keep that driver cool, he's going to be happy, and a happier driver, he's going to perform a lot better on the racetrack.
That's another comfort zone for the drivers, the driver's seat. And stick around later on. Larry on the Haynes comfort zone is going to pull a rabbit out of a hat.
78 degrees right now. Track temperature 112 degrees. There is a chance of showers. There was a thunderstorm warning here about an hour or so before the race. But since then, most of the clouds have moved out. The sun is shining, and we're about 40 laps from halfway here at Michigan.
We've talked mostly about Vickers and Johnson because they really come. Vickers kind of come through the pack and caught Johnson. But I'm going to tell you something, man. Kenseth has too. But if you look at Kyle Busch and Edwards and Earnhardt and Kane and Biffle, those guys have maintained.
Right.
They're not losing right now. They've just maintained what they lost at the beginning of the race. But this adjustment, whatever adjustment each one of these guys made, has kept them in the race. I'm impressed with the 88 right now because I really thought when the race started, when he started to drop a few positions early, that he would fall. But he's kind of hung in there.
Yeah, you're right, Kyle. Looking at the timing board up here, there's a lot of cars that are running about the same time. They're just spread out in the field right now, and the traffic is coming into play because you could lose a half a second a lap if you just catch that car the wrong way trying to make the pass.
Mr. Snyder.
Yes, Mr. Weber, how are you up there in a nice cool air conditioning booth?
It's not bad out there, is it?
That's not too bad. Sun's out, a little warm out here. Kyle, I'm glad you're happy with Dale Jr.'s car because guess what? He's sure not happy with his race car. In fact, he just said, quote, we're really bad right now. He said, we've got to get that air back on the right rear. He said it's just way too loose, especially exit of the corner. In fact, he's talking on the radio right now saying this thing just rolls way over on the right rear, guys. And that really hurts his line because Junior likes to run that high line. So when he runs that high line like he is right now, makes that car loose off the corner, that's not a good condition to have when you're close to the wall.
Oh, actually, I don't even think you could want to run the low line at all when it's falling over on the right rear, because you have to run the high line, because if you turn that thing and try to go to the low line, it's going to swap ends on you.
Yeah, when you turn it and the car rotates, when it just rolls on itself, imagine it as a table with 4 legs. And when you turn it and it dips over on what you would consider whatever corner you're sitting at the table at, whatever would be your right rear, if that leg falls down, then the car is going to squat there and it's going to get ugly. And if you're on the bottom of the racetrack, you're going to load it quick. At the top of the racetrack, he can load it slow.
Dropping back to find Jeff Gordon. He runs 9th. This was his communication a few laps ago.
It just stopped. It was going pretty good. It was a little bit better now. It just come to a halt. Get in the corner, start to rotate, I touch the gas, it just goes straight.
That was an improvement, but only for those first 10.
But it was late. Like, it wasn't turning to where I needed to turn. I need to turn sooner now.
Let's get more from Lindsay Zarniak.
Yeah, and Bill, you just heard him talking about making it turn sooner. And the one problem that they are having that they've recovered from is Jeff talking about how they were having water temperature problems. He said it had been way, way down. But they've corrected it and made sure that everything was okay on that last pit stop. So now, like you heard him, he just wants to get it to turn better.
Yeah, on the turn, listening to that radio communication, he told the crew chief a lot right there. He said, okay, that was a little bit of a help, but it's late. And what he meant was it's late in the corner. You kind of divide the corner up into 3 segments, the first third, the middle third, and the last third. And whatever adjustment they made is helping him on exit in the late third, but it's not rotating soon enough for him to get to the gas. He still says when he gets ready to go to the gas, the car won't rotate, and he picks up his push quicker.
And so he's getting to the throttle later, which means slower lap times.
Slower straightaway speeds and slower corner speeds because he's getting to the gas later. He has to wait on the gas.
That's 2nd and 3rd right there. Matt Kenseth 2nd. Jimmy Johnson runs 3rd.
That 17 car looks loose.
Now Jeff Burton, because he's 2nd in owner points, started outside the front row. In that 31 car, he has slipped back to 17th. And he's racing around some guys that have been on the move. There's Elliott Sadler. Matt, you watching Burton?
Bill, he's fighting the same condition a lot of teams are right now during this run. Just a lot of complaints about no side bite and the car extremely loose, no grip. You can see Burton fighting the car on exit. He goes to the high side in turn 3, looking at making some significant adjustments. The next time down pit road for Burton and a lot of guys, the track temperature is about 5 degrees hotter than it was in final practice, so conditions are a little bit different.
And there's one of those guys we talked about in the countdown, All-State Countdown to Greens, that 19 car, Elliott Sadler. And I thought he was going to be good because I noticed him in final practice as being one of the cars after 15, 20 laps was in the top 5 as far as guys being fast on that segment. And here he is already up to 17th spot.
Yeah, and he and the car that's in front of him, the 28 car, Travis Quavel. Both of those cars had good times after 10 laps, 15 laps, 20 laps. They weren't incredibly fast. They weren't even on the board for the fastest lap when you would look at them.
Right.
But both of those guys have were really good after 10 or 15 laps. And they're still good. They're good right now. They just don't make a lot of progress because I'm telling you, the 83 car, that first segment of the race, he got so far ahead of everybody. He's lapping really good cars right now.
Sam Hornish Jr. from 35th to 15th. A.J. Allmendinger from 39th to 19th. But everybody's chasing that man, Vickers. The Lifelock 400 from Michigan on TNT is brought to you by Sprint, proud sponsor of the 2008 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Speed is beautiful. By TGI Fridays restaurants. Right portion, right price menu. Give me more Fridays. By Aflac. Ask about it at work. And by DirecTV. Get over 90 of the best channels in HD now. 70 laps complete. Brian Vickers is the race leader. There are 25 cars scored on the lead lap. Let's take you through the field. And Lindsay leads off.
And Brian Vickers is being very, very quiet on the radio. The one thing he did say is that he needs more rear grip. They plan on pitting in about 9 laps. He'll take some air out of the right rear. Brian thinks that he can be faster in the high line, Ralph.
Well, Matt Kenseth is still too loose in the center of the corner and especially off at the exit. They've been fighting that all day long, and they're going to continue to work on that with the 17 when they get ready to pit here in less than 10 laps. Snyder.
Well, Ralph Kyle Busch is running in third right now. The car's getting a little bit better. They finished 43rd at Pocono last week, lost 121 points to Jeff Burton, trying to make that up. He said he's a little bit tight late center, but don't make big changes to it because the car's not bad late in the run, Matt.
Jimmy Johnson trying to better his best Michigan finish, which came last fall when he was third. He just lost the third spot to Kyle Busch. He says it's still too skaty in the front. He felt like the changes they made got them only about halfway where he really needs to have the feel of this car, Lindsay.
Yeah, Matt, and Carl Edwards is running right behind. He said, I'm loosest when in the turn. The nose pops up a hair. He says if we can just tighten it up a little bit, we'll be good.
Fastest car on the track the last lap, Lindsay. Dale Earnhardt Jr. with a 42.83. He's very happy, but it took too long, he says, for the car to get to where he wanted. So Tony Eury Jr. is going to make an air pressure and a track bar adjustment on the next stop, trying to get that car to come to life a little bit early, Ralph.
Well, they're about a half a second slower where Casey Kane, he's running a 43.25. They're already planning what they're going to do on their pit stop. They're still fighting for forward grip. They did put some wedge in it and made an air pressure adjustment. Looks like they're going to do more of that, Matt, on this next pit stop.
Ralph, the 16 of Biffles had a combo platter of issues. He had debris on the grill, which is now off. The temperatures have come back down 15 degrees. Then he was talking about the fact that he didn't know whether to try to tighten the car up or free it up because it had a significant push, but yet it was so free on entry, it was almost dirt tracking.
Matt, you talk about somebody that's having some difficulty with their machine, and that would be Jeff Gordon right behind right now in the 9th position. Jeff is just talking back and forth about different things that they can do with this car. He still says it's too tight, but the biggest problem is now they've lost the water gauge, Ralph.
Well, you know, Kevin Harvick is not one of the happier guys here today, even though he's running in the top 10. He has been fighting for this car all day long. He needs more rear grip off the corner, and he says he feels like the front tires just aren't working. They're doing a lot of work, Larry McReynolds, with the air pressure on this car.
Well, Ralph, we're always looking at the front of the points, who's leading the points and who's in the top 12. But one points battle we follow every single week is the battle to stay in the top 35. Sam Hornish, who was probably happier than anybody to get out of Pocono. Sam started back in the 35th position. He's worked his way up to the 14th position. He came in here just 12 points inside the top 35, but the guy that he was just in front of, Michael Waltrip in that 55 car, who led a lap earlier, Michael came in here outside the top 35. If these two cars can maintain a top 15 finish, they will go to a race where there'll be a lot of road course ringers next week at Infineon, where it'll be important to be in the top 35. But Kyle, this is typical Michael Waltrip. You have raced with him for so many years. When he needs to step it up, he normally steps it up.
Yeah, he does. You know, and he had a great race here last year. We were talking in the booth here. When he needed to have a great race, he had a great race in Michigan. They kind of stabilized that team and turned them around. You know, I think he and Ruderman and those guys, they've struggled a little bit this year, but he needs to stay inside that top 35. It's important for that company. It's important for the future of that team. And Michael, somewhere, some way, some shape or form, reaches down and gets it.
Ryan Newman on pit road. They're going to go under the hood. Matt?
Bill, something amiss. He thinks he broke something in the drivetrain. He said he picked up a severe vibration on this 12 machine. They are still looking to see if they can figure out what it is. Tough break for the Daytona 500 champion. They're taking it back to the garage.
Yep, they're pointing back there. And just to a little bit more on Sam, we talked to him yesterday in the happy hour show. And when you talk about Father's Day, he got a big smile on his face. He used to come to this track as a kid with his dad. Says some of his fondest memories are from here. And Sam and his wife Crystal, it's their first Father's Day with their 4-month-old daughter Addison Faith. It's from nearby Ohio. And Matt has been coming. Kensington. Oh boy,
he does it so quietly.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's taken him 76 laps to get to the front, so we've not really even said anything. It's like, oh yeah, Matt's picked up 10 positions. Oh yeah, Matt's picked up 10.
and it's not like, you're right. It's not a surprise.
Yeah.
We see it all the time.
And there he is. That just blows me away. When Lindsay said something about the 24 car and the water gauge, you know, that they've lost their water gauge. Okay, that can be good. That can be bad. It can be good because Jeff doesn't look at it anymore, or it can be bad because it's so hot it just pegged it and it's getting ready to blow up. There's no more water in it.
If it comes down, if the temperature gauge is up and then it comes down, you're in trouble because it's pushed all the water out.
Ralph,
Well, the 9 is in of Casey Kane. He's way too loose. So they're going to put a little right rear wedge into this car. They've been fighting for grip all the way along. They get the completion of the stop, and he's back underway.
Here comes Kenseth. Ralph going to put you back to work when Matt gets there.
Yeah, that'll be Matt Kenseth getting ready to come into his pit stop right now. They have been fighting for the handling on this car, too. They're going to make some adjustments to the rear of the car. They've also been dealing with air pressure adjustments on this car to get it right where they want it. They're going to put 4 tires on, and one of the most important things is they're going to change and clean that grill, Matt.
Mike Lingerfeld already going to work, hitting the lugs on the right front as Art Simmons grabs the tire to help index it on the left front. Jimmy said still needed help on the front, a little skaty. They've already completed the chassis adjustment. He's away. The one car, Martin Truex Jr. is in. His car really loose. He needs help at the front end of the run so he doesn't lose as much track position, Ralph.
Boy, with Kevin Harvick, Matt, they have been fighting all day to get this car right. He has not been a very happy guy, but they keep working on it, working on it. Todd Berrier dialing this car in, and Lindsay, he's sitting inside the top 10.
Well, Ralph, and obviously so is Brian Vickers. His car just pulled in. He keeps saying, I need more rear grip. They're going to give Vickers 4 tires, make an air pressure adjustment. Marty?
Lindsay, our championship leader, Kyle Busch, comes down pit road. He said he was a little bit tight on the late exit of the corner. They're going to try and fix that. He was very happy with the entry. He wants a small change. It's a quarter round up on the left rear wedge bolt, trying to loosen it up just a little bit for Kyle Busch, who was running in 3rd when he hit pit road, Lindsay.
Marty, Jeff Gordon is right now in his pit box, and he had been saying again that he's too tight. Again, we talked about him losing the water gauge. They gave him 4 tires, fuel, and he's away. Snyder?
Lindsay, the second run for Tony Stewart was much better. They were very happy with the car. He said at the very end of the run, it got a little bit tight, but not much. He said he was losing time, especially in the center of a corner, and air pressure adjustment for Greg Zipadelli and that team. Lindsay?
Marty, Carl Edwards talking about how loose his car is on the center off. Right now, he said that he's loosest in the turn. Like we said, his nose coming up a hair. They're giving Carl 4 tires, fuel, a slight chassis adjustment. Matt?
Greg Biffle is in. Greg Irwin wanted to talk about making the adjustment with the spring rubber. Thought it would take too much time. They went with a wedge adjustment, and they shuffled the air pressure as well. He was extremely loose, but yet he was still fighting a tight race car. Biffle's away.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. led 3 laps, got his bonus points. He heads for pit road. All this happening with 80 laps complete. Green flag stops. Marty?
Well, Bill, you might want to file this in a way. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Hendrick Motorsports, getting very good fuel mileage today. That could certainly be a factor later. Jr. said again, car way too loose for him. Tony Jr. is going to go down, half around the track bar, 1 pound in the right front tire, trying to tighten that car up. Right in front of him, Kurt Busch on pit road. His car extremely loose. On the last stop, 4 rounds down on the track bar. This time, 2 separate wedge adjustments for Kurt Busch, trying to tighten that thing up.
Matt Kenseth is scored as the race leader. Green flag stops here at Michigan. 81 laps complete. You're watching the Lifelock 400 on TNT. Are you ready to watch and listen to your favorite driver all race long? Check out Track Pass Race View yourself. Log on to NASCAR.com/Track Pass right now and start your free trial. Jeff Burton, Juan Pablo Montoya, come to pay off our AT&T Race Talk poll question. Who's been the hottest driver this season? Kyle Busch with the 4 wins. Casey Kane's won 2 of the last 3-point races, plus the All-Star event.
That's just because we tell everybody how hot Kyle Busch is.
I wonder who other is.
Other. I don't know.
Okay, now
Other.
Matt Kenseth leads by 5.5 seconds over Brian Vickers. Vickers was the race leader when the pit stop started. Kenseth is now the race leader, and it really pains me to say this, but Wally, you did an outstanding job of forecasting something like this in one of our many meetings this weekend.
I've said this before about Matt, and I watched actually when these guys were making the pit. Matt Kenseth is one of the best guys, especially here at Michigan, on getting to pit lane and off a pit lane. He makes up all his time getting to that first line that we had that they start, NASCAR starts timing. And that's where he does it. I mean, they're all real close on the pit lane. You're going to gain a second, you're going to lose a second. But when you're talking 4 seconds, 5 seconds, that's all getting to that Sunoco sign down there at the pit lane entrance.
And you know what, Wally? This group, they are notorious for picking a pit stall close to the entrance of pit road. I was just looking at the pit map. He is 7 pit boxes in, and I think one reason they do that, a lot has to do when you have pit stops under caution, but Matt gets to his pit box, and when he leaves, all he has to worry about is maintaining pit road speed. He's not going down there trying to hunt his pit sign halfway down pit road. Does a great job, as you mentioned, getting on and off pit road.
Yeah, you know, when NASCAR puts you in a box with a pit road speed, then it wasn't just blasting down pit road and off the racetrack. So you had to maximize the areas that you could make up a difference. And Matt has done a great job. And you know, you watch Formula One, you watch other forms of racing, they call it their in lap and their out lap, and then they combine those 2 times together. And when you combine his in lap and his out lap, plus Vickers' in lap and out lap, he beat him by 5 seconds. Yeah. So that's kind of like we qualify for the All-Star race where they do that pit stop and all that stuff in it. And it's an all-inclusive timed event, and it's almost a 2-lap thing that Matt beats everybody for that 2 laps.
Well, you start adding that up over 4 or 5 pit stops. If this thing goes green, that's a tremendous bonus.
That's huge. You know, watching the pit stops, and I hope the people at home watch this, and you guys made the comment during the pit stop up here in the booth while the pit reporters were doing, you guys did a great job down there just throwing it back and forth, but was the brake dust. How much brake dust? This is a 2-mile racetrack. You would think, my goodness, they're not going to use a brake at a 2-mile racetrack like they do it. It looks like Martinsville down there when they're pulling these tires off. And you heard Jeff Gordon say earlier, I'm having to stop the car in the middle of the corner to get the car to turn. So these guys are using a lot more brake at a place like this than they have in the past.
And what you notice when you watch the pit stops from home, all you got to watch is when that guy pulls that right front wheel off, you'll see a tremendous amount of dust come off on some of these cars, and some of them you won't. The guys that really don't have a lot of dust coming off, and there's a lot on Matt's car, but there were some cars, I saw Biffle and some guys, they pulled the right front off, and there was hardly any dust.
Yeah, and they're not complaining about their car as much as some of these other guys are either. You know what I mean? These guys are just fast right now. But you watch, you know, they pull this thing off, and it looks like a flat black wheel. And they put another one on that's shiny, or it's a shiny red wheel. As soon as they come in the next time, it'll be flat black again from all the dust.
Matt?
Bill, and that was the bunker that Brett Biffle was trying to zero in on down the front straightaway. He was drafting, trying to change the air pressure on the nose. He picked up some debris, some type of plastic bag. The water temperature was starting to climb. They notified Kane Spotter what Biffle's plan was, so that way he would know exactly what he was trying to do.
And you think about that. Now, why would a competitor, why would the guy you're trying to beat do that? But you got to remember, it can happen to you the next lap, and you're going to be looking for Biffle's help.
You don't know how much out there, and you know, I know you know, but under caution, you'll ride up beside somebody, and your spotter tells them or back and forth.
On my grip now, it's getting looser. It's not catching up now. It's just loose like it was. I got the caution, Joe.
Caution.
Debris.
That's correct. Caution for debris. 92 laps are complete. There are 21 cars left on the lead lap, and guys like Jeff Burton and David Reagan and Denny Hamlin just caught a huge break. Looks like Jamie McMurray might be the lucky dog. We'll wait till we get it officially.
Hey, how cool was that? Greg Biffle calls the caution for us. I mean, calls it from the cockpit, calls it for TNT.
McMurray is the lucky dog, so Jamie will come around and be the 22nd car on the lead lap. Update a couple of guys. Dario Franchitti is out of the race. Dave Blaney 22 laps down with an axle issue. Ryan Newman off the track, currently scored 41st. They went under the hood on the 12 car of Newman. Don't forget, you can follow the race along with Race Buddy. Find him at NASCAR.com. All kinds of neat stuff going on there. And he was very popular last week. Race Buddy, NASCAR.com. There's a little guy. 8 laps from halfway, 7 when they complete this one. And this will send 22 cars to pit road, and it will be a very busy place. Ralph?
Well, to make things easier this time getting onto pit road for Matt Kenseth, Dave Blaney will not be pitting right next to him when he comes in. They're going to take a quarter round out of the left rear, still trying to get grip into this car. He's pretty loose coming off of turn 4, Matt.
Jimmy Johnson, Ralph, felt like at the end of that run he was going to be much looser on exit. That's where he wanted to make some headway. Chad Canals calling for a track bar and wedge adjustment on this stop for Jimmy Johnson. Marty?
Kyle Busch on the very first pit stall at pit road, he wanted a bottle of water, and he wanted back the adjustments that were made last time. So Steve Addington's going to go halfway on those adjustments. Carl Edwards wins the race off pit road by a bunch. He's got 4 tires and back out there, Lindsay.
Matt, Brian Vickers has come and gone already. He had said that they wanted a track bar adjustment badly because he was feeling very, very loose. Right now, he's gaining about a tenth a lap. He says that pit stop was successful.
There you see the race off of pit road. Carl Edwards will check on his pit strategy, update the running order when we come back. This is NASCAR on TNT. 95 laps are complete here at Michigan in the Lifelock 400. Here's today's pit summary brought to you by Papa John's, now offering you 100% whole wheat crust. Let's sort through some of this. Carl Edwards had a pit stop of 7.4 seconds, which means he took 2 tires. Right. That puts him out front. Denny Hamlin stayed out. He was basically the last car on the lead lap before the lucky dog, so he stayed out, got 5 bonus points. He has just come to pit road, so he will restart in the 22nd position. Again, Jamie McMurray was the lucky dog. So it's Carl Edwards, Kenseth, Kyle Busch, Vickers, and Johnson. We're half lap from going green.
And there's a lot of people right now, based especially on pit road, that are going to be watching this 99 car over the next 20, 30 laps.
You know, Chad Canal said earlier in the week that he thought that from what they had seen with this tire in the past, that he didn't think the left sides would wear. So he thought there would be a lot of 2-tire stops. Now, that's what he said. That's not what he's done. Right. Okay, so maybe he was getting people. He was hoping people would go down that route. It's kind of like Carl in the pre-race. I hope guys continue to do the workout exercise they do right now, which means nothing because he's beating their rear ends.
Field works its way through turn 4. It will be 4 laps from halfway when the green flag goes back in the air. 22 cars on the lead lap. Edwards, Kenseth, Kyle Busch, Vickers, and Johnson. Then it's Junior, Gordon, Harvick, Kane, and Waltrip.
Stick, please, tire stick.
Now they might get a caution here because my man Bobby Labonte and the marathon guys there, he has gotten more lucky dogs this year when he's at the front of the pack than anybody I know. It's like a lucky dog magnet.
And so you're saying he needs one right now?
He needs one to get back in the lead lap, and he's in that position right now. I'm just saying he has been a lucky dog magnet.
Here's one for you. As they run right now, Matt Kenseth is 11th in points. He was 22nd after Richmond. 204 points behind 12th.
And that's amazing because I've done a couple of different TV shows, and the comment was, those guys are underachievers. Why, they're never going to make it this year. And all of a sudden, here these guys are in contention to be in the chase.
83 cars, Brian Vickers behind Jimmy Johnson. Wow, it's 4th and 5th.
He's getting in the throttle early. 83 of Vickers.
Yeah, Vickers got in the throttle early that time. You saw him sitting at home. You could see him just roll in on him in the middle of the corner when he picked up the gas.
Paul Menard in that 15 right now. He is the first car 1 lap down. And if we got a caution, he would be the lucky dog.
Which means we won't get a caution because now Bobby's out of position.
How many TV shows do you do a week?
Just one.
Okay.
I do one from my basement in case you guys want to tune in sometime. They just view it upstairs. It never gets out of the house.
That's enough. That's enough. There's Tony Stewart in that 20 car.
And we haven't really said a lot about him, but he's been hovering right there about 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. Been very quiet this week. You know, he got up and led last week and then had the speeding penalty on pit road and was relegated to a 35th place finish, but he's been just solid today.
And he has pledged his earnings from this race to the American Red Cross to help with disaster relief in flood-ridden Indiana around his hometown of Columbus. And we know those people in Indiana and the Midwest and in Iowa have had some really tough times weather-wise.
Yeah, you know, our heart goes out to, I have a group out of Des Moines, the Wells Fargo people, which is one of our sponsors. And I mean, they've just taken a beating in that area, from tornadoes to flooding to everything. And your heart goes out to all the families out there.
So Tony, once again, showing his charitable efforts, donating his earnings from today's race to the American Red Cross. Right now, Tony in 11th after starting 12th. And we're halfway, folks. Man.
I was watching Mike there. A lot of racetrack coming up off that corner. I'll tell you what, though, the race has been good. I mean, these guys are running side by side a lot more than I thought they would be, to be honest with you. I thought a lot of these guys would be up to the wall and they would stay there.
Ooh. I mean, they're cutting left. They're cutting right in the middle of the corner right now, but these cars are sticking on new tires. But you're exactly right. The racing has been a lot better. But it wasn't California. I thought we had one of the best races at California at that speedway that we've had with the COT.
And you couldn't do that with the old car. You couldn't crank like that. No, you did. You get away with it maybe once.
One time on the first or second lap on new tires, not the fifth or sixth lap. There's Mark Martin up under there.
Yeah, happy birthday to the U.S. Army, celebrating their 233rd birthday. Mark carrying their colors in that 8 car. On board with Tony Stewart. Caution is out. Kurt Busch has gone around.
And this doesn't surprise me because these guys were so bad, and he's got that could be because he's got a left front flat. I don't know if that happened before or after the spin, but he's been junk. I mean, he's been off the pace and scaring himself to death loose in this race so far.
You know, we did happy hour yesterday, and you made the comment, if he doesn't have it right by 10 minutes to go, he's not going to get it. He's by himself way back here.
Rough weekend for Kurt Busch, under caution at Michigan. TNT Sports at the Lifelock 400 in Michigan, under caution, our third of the day. The lucky dog is Paul Menard, so he'll come around and get back on the lead lap. While we were away, several cars came to pit road. In fact, only the top 7 stayed out. Everybody from Kevin Harvick, who was 8th, on back pitted. And remember, Carl Edwards, who is the race leader, took just 2 tires when he pitted back on lap 93, working lap 104 right now.
And well, this will be fun to watch, but a lot of the guys that are lapped down now also are probably going to come and take 4. So now here's a good shot to get on the lead lap. This is the best shot you're going to have, I think.
So we've got some cars a lap down on pit road. We'll take another break, come back for the restart here at Michigan. The field is working lap 106. Coming through turn 4, getting ready for the restart here at Michigan. Carl Edwards is the race leader. Then it's Ken Zith, Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Brian Vickers, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Jeff Gordon all stayed out. Just about everybody else pitted. It's going to be something. Fresh restart brought to you by Subway Restaurant. Subway, eat fresh.
I'm not sure some of those guys on the lap down, like that 38 car, did take tires. You see Bobby Labonte right there jumping out past the 10. I don't think the 10 took tires either.
Yeah, so basically you got 2 or 3 cars on the inside line that didn't take tires, 2 or 3 cars on the outside with Carl Weeden taking 2, and then everybody else with new tires trying to drive through. That's why it looks like this going down the backstretch.
38 of Gilliland also stayed out.
Yeah,
left down.
And this is where we get cautions.
Yes. This is why sometimes it's okay to stay out, because when these guys run into each other, it causes havoc. That's wild right there. I don't care what racetrack you're at. That is a shot right there when you look out across there. They look 5 wide, 6 wide. Look at them come down the front stretch.
And that's why I really love coming and watching the races at Michigan.
That's what makes Michigan Michigan. You can't do that. You can do it some at California, but it's not as dramatic as it is at Michigan.
One of the 43 cars are on the track. 23 on the lead lap. Carl Edwards, then Matt Kenseth, then Kyle Busch, those front 3.
You can see these cars almost getting in the corner. They're using brake. You almost see them pitch forward sometimes, especially when they're running 2 and 3 wide when they get there.
A little bump drop there.
It looks like it with the 6 just tucked dead up under the 24. Obviously, the 6 doesn't know what the 24 has been telling us on the radio up here while we've been listening to him, how bad he thinks his car is.
They're your top 3. Kyle Busch was looking at second, but couldn't get it from Kenseth.
There's 3 different lines right there. You've got Edwards kind of in the middle, Kenseth was right on the bottom, and Kyle Busch was up top. And then everybody back here is just using what they can.
Look at that.
Wow. David Reagan in that 6 car.
I don't think Jeff's car is much better.
No, but that's a good example. You saw Jeff start up, and it's almost like he's got enough experience, and his spotter told him he felt that car there turn left. Now, they blew by him on the outside, but that could have been a big accident right there. But that's just from experience and knowing and feeling in these cars.
And remember, Gordon did not pit under that last caution. Jeff has fallen to 12.
I'm not sure I understand that. I mean, if you've got a good race car, I can understand staying out there. But if you're struggling right now and looking for...
But what would have happened if those top 7 had pitted? The guys behind them probably would have stayed out. It's one of those catch-22s. They've only been going about 8
You got to
laps.
do what's best for your car if you're not handling. It's one thing if you're running good, but if you're not handling, you're struggling. You need to come in and keep making adjustments and throw tires on that thing.
Yeah, and as much as he has talked about it, you know, we've had him on here, and as much as he's spoken about my car's free here, it's not rotating the way I wanted to. They made some adjustments. He felt like it was a little bit closer as we see Mark dive under the 19 car. Mark's right there on the bottom, but he's made the comment, but then when he had an opportunity to come in and maybe do something, then he left it on the table.
That's for 10th right there.
Good job, old man. Keep rolling, buddy.
That's what they call Mark Martin, and they mean that with all kinds of respect. How about it, Ralph?
Here's a pretty interesting thing with Mark Martin in that 8 car. Now, we've talked a lot today about some guys who want to run the bottom group, some guys who want to run the top group because that's where their car is performing better. Mark feels like as a driver, he performs better on the bottom. Kyle and Wally, he said to Tony Gibson, his crew chief, he doesn't feel like as the car rotates into the corner at the high line that he's got a good visual perspective of where the line is going. And he says, if I keep running up top, I'm going to run this thing into the wall.
Well, and that's something, too, I've noticed, Kyle. Usually you could see that rubber. Remember how we used to get Titan 3 and 4? It used to just lay the rubber down, and that black line would start about halfway and then move right up to the wall. And we're not really seeing that here today.
No, the racetrack is not getting black like it usually does. But I think, like we were talking about tire wear and stuff, these tires just don't wear the way they used to. You know, it doesn't. A lot of racetracks we run don't black up like they used to. So, yeah, and you know, we talked about Terry Labonte last week on the Pocono broadcast. Terry said, I just can't make myself go in 3 that high after 50 races of going in on the bottom. And we've talked about everything that Mark has run here, everything that Mark's won in here, from IROC cars to ASA cars, Busch, or whatever it is. Nationwide, sorry. Nationwide to trucker to Cup stuff. You know, he's a bottom feeder here. He just likes to be on that white line.
That's $10 to Victory Junction.
I'm sorry, man. I'll give it up. I'll give it up for that.
Edwards runs first, Kenseth second. Those are 2 Roush cars, and with David Reagan cracking the top 10, you've now got your 4 Roush Fenway cars in the top 10 here, just past the halfway mark.
Yeah, and here we see Kenseth is looking down at the bottom for possibly take that spot over, and I think he's gonna do it.
Whoa, that's for the lead.
And I think Carl probably cut him a little bit of slack there, just lifted on that throttle a little bit because he saw that 17 sliding up.
And that could be a little bit of a teammate deal. But I am impressed with the 99 with 2 tires. To be able to, yes, he's there. You know what I mean? He's there. And those other guys that stayed out, you look at Gilliland. He's been able to hang and drive away from Bobby and still got got multiple laps on a set of 4.
And someone that has not been as good is Brian Vickers, even though he runs in the 5th position. Vickers led 40 laps.
But you know, it was funny. And obviously,
they're all clear.
We have the advantage of looking at the scoring monitor here. We're people at home, unless you're at Race Buddy or unless you're at NASCAR.com and you're looking at some of this stuff, you don't have that advantage. Vickers was really a couple of tenths faster than everybody on that very first run. Those guys caught up on the second run, and on the third run, there were guys that got a little bit better. So, you know, it's one of those deals where you say, my God, I wish my car was as good as it was at the beginning.
And we've been watching David Reagan. We've been watching him all season. But watch him right here in that 6 car with a AAA sponsorship.
That's a little loose off.
That's a little loose. Look at the black marks behind it. Look, it's hard to believe you can come off a corner at 170 miles an hour sideways and lay down black marks, but that's exactly what he did.
He started 13th, had moved his way into the top 10, runs 11. It's Casey Kane right there. He's got the Lifelock sponsorship this weekend.
Yeah, this car's just been solid. It's been solid just about every single weekend, the 6 car.
Yeah, he's not one of those teams that's had that 1 or 2 spectacular runs, but he's had that solid 5th to 12th run week after week after week.
It's 3rd and 4th right there. Kyle Busch in the 18. M&M's Toyota.
Just stuck on that white line.
Yeah,
he's just staying down there.
And that surprises me because he's the kind of guy that goes instantly to the wall in anything he drives, but he's down there.
And let's give credit to Elliott Sadler. He has now moved from 27th to 10th. Kenseth leads. Matt Kenseth is the race leader. J.J. Yaley has gone to the garage. We'll update you on that. Dave Blaney is 23 laps down. Ryan Newman is in the garage. Dario Franchitti is out of the race. 42 cars still scored. 41 on the track. Now it's time for today's Aflac trivia question. Who was the last Michigan Sprint Cup winner to win from the pole? Go ahead, Mr. Dallenbach.
Mr. Kane.
Okay, that's good. Is that true?
Casey Kane?
Larry, you got a guess?
It's not a guess. It's Casey Kane in the rain-shortened race about 2 years ago.
Well, that's definitive right there. That's not a guess.
I guess I just guessed, so I'm wrong.
Yeah, you guessed, so you're wrong. This is not a guess.
June 2006 for Casey. Our Aflac trivia question.
That's not fair. That was only a few years ago. I can't remember that. Ask me something 20 years ago.
How about a Carl and the duck? And the duck has his own people?
The duck has his own people. That's what's good. It's like, Carl, you're the commercial guy. You know what I mean? I mean, you got to have clarity in the mess with the duck, because that's what it's all about. Well, the duck has its own people.
All right, there's your leader, Matt Kenseth. Jeff Gordon has really taken a tumble back to 20th here, Larry.
Yeah, I think I have definitely learned a lesson for these crew chiefs on pit road. The 24 car, they only had 6 laps on their tires when they elected to stay out. But I think to stay out or to go with just 2 tires, you've got to have a good handling car. And I think that's the point that Wally was trying to make a while ago. You can't stay out there sliding around and do the 2 tires or no tires if your car's not driving good.
So if your car is good, you can try it. But if it's not, you're wasting your time.
But what I'm seeing, I believe 4 tires is going to what will win this race.
Lindsay?
And to add on to what Larry's saying, basically Gordon is not happy at all right now with the car. He's saying, I am just dead everywhere. You know, good news though, however, we talked before about those gauges. Jeff was able to reset a switch and get those gauges to work again, so that's in his favor. But right now, they're just looking forward to lap about 135 when they'll bring him down pit road.
And that's an interesting point, Lindsay, because they've gone to some electric gauges in these cars, and they do have a reset button. And sometimes you can reset the highest temperature, you reset the lowest, and it'll read. And if it loses power to the gauge, or if it does something, it'll read dead on the hot. It's not a digital. It's an electric gauge with a needle. Now they may have digital.
Like a telltale.
Like a telltale. It's almost like a telltale on an RPM, and it will
still touch the gas to make it push the middle.
That's Jeff still talking about picking up the gas and making it push through the middle. He's not rotating through the middle. But that's interesting that whether they had a power surge or whatever, it pegged his water gauge, and that's just something he was watching at the time, and it could have just as easily gone all the way to the other end and been 0 degrees.
Now, these 7 cars that didn't pit under the last caution are probably a little less than 10 laps away from coming to pit road. See how that plays out. Matt Kenseth leads. The Lifelock 400 from Michigan on TNT is brought to you by Miller Lite. For the perfect combination of taste and refreshment, choose Miller Lite. Why drink anything but Miller Lite, the ultimate light beer? By Subway Restaurant. Subway, eat fresh. By Toyota, moving forward. And by Allstate, are you in good hands? 130 laps complete. Matt Kenseth is the race leader by 2 seconds over Jimmy Johnson. Then it's Carl Edwards, Brian Vickers up a spot, Kyle Busch back to 5th. Today's Lultraman Ultra Power Performer is Roush Racing. The Roush Fenway car has won 6 of the last 12 races at Michigan. And they're running pretty good today. 1st, 3rd, 8th, and 12th right now. And Jamie McMurray is 17th. So that's all 5 Roush Fenway cars on the lead lap with 23 cars scored on the lead lap. David Gilliland is the first car 1 lap down. J.J. Yaley is off the track. Ryan Newman in the garage. Dario Franchitti out of the race. Dale Earnhardt Jr. runs in the 7th position after starting 3rd. Let's check with Marty.
And Bill running right up against the wall. This is the portion of the run where Junior's one of the fastest cars on the racetrack as he tries to pass his good friend Tony Stewart. Here's a dilemma. Let me give you a quote. Early in the run, just cannot drive this car. It's horrible. A quote, only 15 laps later, the car's nearly perfect. Turns really nice. So I wanted to ask Larry McReynolds, here's a dilemma for Tony Eury Jr. How do you fix that car at the beginning of the run, tighten it up, but you don't hurt the end of the run when clearly Junior is the fastest car on the racetrack?
Well, what I get a feeling that they have done, Marty, they know that this thing has a green flag look to it where you get these long runs. A fuel run here is about 40 to 44 laps. It almost sounds like maybe they're lowering the air pressures down a little too low. You lower the pressures down for a long run because you know how much pressure they're going to build up. So, but if nothing else, this is good information, knowing that if we have a short run at the end of this race, put some air pressure in those tires. You just don't want to start the air pressure up too high because then it'll start, the tires will almost feel like basketballs toward the end of a run.
And Junior's car looks good. I think they got to get them. There's a lot of good cars right now that are sitting in the top 10. They need to get that track position because they're all running. A lot of these guys are running almost the same exact times. So it's just like, you know, Junior's running as quick as a leader right now. He just can't run them down.
Yeah, and the problem is, just as you're saying and just as Larry said, what Junior's saying is, I just can't go on the get-go. They just drive off and leave me once they drop the green flag, but 10 laps into the run, I find my groove, and I'm as fast as anybody else. But he's got to fix it so he can run that sprint race, that first 10 or 12 laps. It's funny, too. Sometimes you get just as Larry's talking about air pressure, sometimes you'll get a car that when the car has grip in the tires, you get more travel in the right front, more travel in the left front, more travel in the rear. And maybe his balance is off just enough that once he loses some grip, the car gets fairly balanced and he just floats it in the corner, lets it roll through and picks back up the throttle. Because listening to him as he runs, he's on the gas fairly smooth. He's off the gas smooth. You can hear him just kind of roll out and then roll back in.
And it's okay to be that way, but if you're going to, the other guys in front of you are going to have to fall off.
Yes.
If you set your car up for the longer run, that's great. But the other guys that are good on the short run have to be bad on the long run in order for it to pay off.
To
right
counter
now,
itself.
that's unhealthy.
To counter it. It's not countered itself.
The top 6 cars on the track, Kenseth, Johnson, Edwards, Vickers, Kyle Busch, and Earnhardt Jr. last stopped on lap 93. Everybody else, just about, started on lap 103. Jeff Gordon is back in 21st. He stopped on 93. So these guys that stopped on lap 93 are rapidly closing in on their pit window. And John from Chicago Heights gave us a race buddy question, wants to know when Junior's going to win his first race of the season.
Tell John I know, but I've bet in Vegas on it, and I'm not going to tell John. I don't have a clue. How do we know? He has run twice as good this year as he run last year. I mean, you know, everybody wants to know when Junior's going to win. He's the most popular driver. He sells more souvenirs. He's the guy right now. He's just not winning races. But with this organization, it's just around the corner. Yeah. And it's going to be the kind of thing, when he does bust through, it's going to be big.
Exactly. And when they figure it out and they win, they're going to win a whole bunch more races, I think, right in a row.
Junior third in the championship standings.
It's like 18 is going to come in. He's going to hit pit road. 24 is on pit road.
Lindsay, good luck.
Yeah, I think that's what the crew here is needing right now. Jeff Gordon pulls into his pit stop. They will give him 4 tires fuel, and they're going to make some adjustments, guys, because they're saying he's loose and very tight off. Right now, they're looking for some answers.
Marty?
Mr. Weber, Kyle Busch coming down pit road. He said about 4 laps ago, I assume we have some paper on the grill. They had a very small piece of paper in the front opening of the grill. The water temperature went from 220 all of a sudden straight up to 240, and it did change the handling of the car a little bit. As he comes in, I do not see that piece of paper on the grill. He said the car was just a little bit loose on the exit, a little too tight in the center, so they're going to make an air pressure adjustment trying to fix that, Matt.
On the previous stop for Martin Truex Jr., they were going to go 2 tires, but he slid into the pit box. Then they had some issues on the right side, so they went for 4, but his complaint simply has been it's so loose at the beginning of the run that it has to wait for it to come in at the end, Ralph.
Hotter and looser. That's the problem for Matt Kenseth. He's got some debris in the front grille. Took the temperature up to 245. Also made the car loose. Nothing has really made a major change to this car, Matt. They're pretty happy with it. Just going to make a slight air pressure adjustment.
Significant chassis adjustment for Jimmy Johnson's 48 machine. Says the forward bike so much better. Still, though, a little free on entry. The biggest issues for a lot of guys today is trying to keep up with the racetrack. Some not taking as big a swing as they needed to earlier in the race.
There are some really nervous race drivers out there right now hoping the caution does not come out. Earnhardt Jr. was scored as the race leader. He comes to pit road, giving up the lead. Marty?
And Bill, as you mentioned, there's a lot of guys hoping that caution doesn't come out. We're at the end of the cycle of guys who last pitted on lap 93. Among those will be Dale Earnhardt Jr. Again, the car way too loose beginning of the run. What they're going to do is they're going to make a wedge adjustment, trying to tighten up that start of the run, Matt.
Greg Biffle told Greg Irwin he felt like they just were not keeping up with the racetrack. They were talking about taking a bigger swing. They went 2 tires in the last stop, but the car got even much more freer, Ralph.
Matt, it was getting really bad handling for Casey Kane. The car got very loose, so they decided to make an air pressure adjustment and a chassis change on this car to try to get back to where they needed it. They had dropped all the way out of the top 10, Marty.
Tony Stewart, one of those cars, Ralph, that pitted at lap 103. He took on 4 tires at that point. They have been making this Home Depot Toyota better on every run. Toyota, Tony, I should say, I can speak English, has been a little frustrated with the lap traffic out there, but once he gets going, things are well. Car's a little bit too tight for Tony on that last run at the very end, Matt.
Impressive run by Elliott Sadler in the 19 car, steadily moving up. 2 tires earlier, says a little too tight. 4 tires on this stop. Left's going on. Good stop, he's away.
There's A.J. Allmendinger. He gives up the lead, went from 39th to 1st, helped by this cycle of green flag pit stops. But he had worked his way up to 10th before the pit stops began.
Wow,
Ralph.
he's got a lot of
he's over the
breaking
line.
that thing.
A.J. Allmendinger comes in and slides past his pit stop. They were planning on just making 4 tires and fuel and no changes to the car. But this is one of the things as A.J. Sister shaking his head inside the car. That's been a bit of a problem for him. Last year, they wanted him just to get in there and gain as much experience as he can, but they struggled so much to make the races, he didn't really get a chance to do that, Marty, and that inexperience just cost him right there.
Denny Hamlin has plenty of experience. Ralph, his car a little bit loose when he hits the throttle. Then on the very late of the corner, it gets too tight for him. So what they did, they made a wedge adjustment on the left side, going down half a round. They've been getting this car a little bit better throughout the day. Mike Ford taking some big swings, but they're getting closer. Ralph.
Well, the 6 car has been having his handling problems too. You saw him smoke that rear right tire. He heated up the hides and the handling went away as he came off of turn number 2. So they're going to put some fresh rubber on this car, make a slight adjustment to it, clean the grill, and back in goes David Reagan.
Working through green flag pit stops, 142 laps are complete. Sam Hornish, racing at what he considers his home track from nearby Ohio, scored as the race leader, started 35th. Pitted on lap 103. And it's good being out there, but he is losing time every lap on the track.
losing time to the leaders, and that because the guys who have pitted, who were leading the race, and here he's going to come in and take advantage of. You can't stay out there when a guy's running 2.5 seconds faster than you are. You can't continue to stay out there.
Yeah, you've got about a lap or a 2-lap window to hope that yellow comes out in your favor, and if it doesn't, you need to get in.
And that's why the guys that pitted 10 laps later that still had fuel decided to come in when the guys on 93.
They had to. You're forced to. When the leaders are running that fast, and you know they're going to run that fast on new tires, they force your hand. So you can't stay on your strategy. They force you to a different strategy.
Cycles back to Matt Kenseth, looking for the victory here in Michigan. You can see we are under caution here at Michigan. Just moments ago, Bobby Labonte went for a spin. That brought out the caution. We'll show it to you. Looking back toward turn 2.
He's down the straightaway.
Yeah.
Almost. That's way late.
I think he might have got touched.
I don't know. Hard to tell from this angle.
Kurt Busch is the lucky dog, so he'll come around and be on the lead lap. During the green flag pit stops, the 66 was too fast entering, so he had to take that penalty. And Ryan Newman in the 12 car has returned to the track, and he is 68 laps down.
Kurt Busch gets the free pass. That is amazing. As bad as that car has been, for him to hang on to it, spin one time, get back out there and run, and put himself in the position to get the lucky dog. That's amazing.
Okay, about 10 laps since they pitted. Okay, what are you doing?
Well, you're definitely going to see guys come in. I mean, I don't know if everybody's coming in, but there's going to be a lot of them coming in and getting 4.
50 laps to go. You know, you're in that window where you're 50 laps to go. You may do a thing. Some of these crew chiefs may do that short thing where they run 25 laps on a set of tires and 25 laps counting on the thing going green.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's a Larry call for me. That's not. That's me. It does depend.
Where you're at. If you're not fast enough to win it, that's a good, that's a good way to go.
Hey, guys, I think there's no question. What you want to do here with 52 laps to go when you hit pit road, get your 4 fresh tires, get that thing full of fuel, and then maybe gamble if this thing stays green. Maybe you can just dump a little fuel or go with just the 2 right side tires near the end.
Some guys did stay out, Ralph.
Well, these guys are going to change up everything you're talking about because they're going to take just 2 on Matt Kenseth's car. He said, I'll probably take a bit of a beating with this, but that's okay. I'm willing to do that, Marty.
Kyle Busch all the way to the end of pit road. He is tight in the center, but too loose off. He said, what I want to fix is a loose off condition. Half round down on the track bar, quarter round in the left rear of wedge, and just 2 tires for Kyle Busch.
Matt, 2 tires as well for the 16 of Greg Biffle. In fact, he dialed some rear brake into his car because he was sliding to the left front. They were only going to go right side. He didn't want to take a chance on flat spotting those tires. Lindsay?
Matt, the 83 of Brian Vickers came down pit road. They also gave 2 tires a turn down on the track bar, and they've been debating whether or not to come in, whether to follow the leaders. They brought it in because Vickers is still loose off.
Jimmy Johnson did not pit. He scored as the race leader. Sorted out when we come back. 50 laps, 100 miles to go here in the Lifelock 400 at Michigan. Some interesting developments. Jimmy Johnson, Sam Hornish Jr. did not pit. Fuel getting the 1 to go. We'll go back to green flag racing next time by. Matt Kenseth was one of the cars that just stopped on pit road. There you see Matt. He is currently scored in the 5th position. Now watch this. Watch when he completes his 2 tire stop.
And we see this in other sports. You see this you see the official steps out in front of him. He powers up. He has to check up. The official gets out of the way. But we see this in other sports too. You see it in the NFL where somebody runs it up the middle and the referee has to duck, or he gets caught and he gets tackled. It's just part of the game. But that shows you how important the officials are and how they can change the outcome of a pit stop.
And that official thought the 17 was going to change 4 tires.
Yeah, I think
he didn't know what was coming, and that's why he was in that position.
Yeah, a lot of times, though, those crew chiefs will give the NASCAR official a heads up.
Yes,
that we're only changing 2.
That's a big bug on the windshield.
That's big, man. You roll an official over your windshield, that's a big deal.
Be 49 laps to go when they get the green here in just a matter of seconds. Again, Jimmy Johnson, who stopped on lap 138, stayed out. So did Sam Hornish Jr. in the 77. That's from 35th to 2nd for Hornish. Then it's Kyle Busch, Edwards, and Kenseth.
I could be wrong on this, but I think they're going to get by at 48. These guys have changed 4 tires pretty quickly. I could be wrong on this because I know there's not a lot of laps on the 48-inch tires right now.
Watching the truck race that went on last night, the guys with tires really came through the pack fast when you had that many laps on a set of tires. Now, you're right. We could be wrong. We could be sitting here just blowing smoke. Who knows?
And we're wrong off.
We're wrong off. But there's 50 laps to go in this race, and now you're going to have an exciting 100 miles of racing. Look at these guys. Somebody's bounced off and run into each other back there. It's still smoke.
Yeah, there's some right front tires down on the Robbie Gordon.
And he's going to hit the wall again.
And that's not fun knowing it's coming. He just got run into the outside wall.
Sorry, Kyle.
No.
Got wrecked in turn 2. Somebody put me on the wall in turn 2.
You see the damage to Robbie's car?
Take it to the garage.
You see the right front tires not turning, man.
That's a hard hit when it doesn't move.
You know what he's thinking, don't you?
I can't wait till next week.
Right. The road course at Sonoma.
It was wrecked in turn 2.
Oh yeah, he got turned. Yeah, I mean, he got turned into the wall.
That's an ugly way, man. Somebody just run in the back of him. I didn't see who that car was.
It looked like David Reagan, but I'm not for sure that's who it was.
Obviously, I wasn't watching the monitor, so I didn't see it.
This was the second hit.
Yeah.
And that doesn't seem that bad, but remember, you guys watching on TV, that's at like 90 or 100 miles an hour right there. That's still a pretty hard hit because you can't get it rode down.
You could see on the tracker miles per hour scrubbing off.
You're not going to drive out of a situation like that. You're along for the ride when somebody hooks you like that.
So Robbie back to the hauler, and they'll head for Sonoma next week.
And he'll be a force out there. He'll be a factor out there.
Pit road is open, but not a lot of business. This guy's just on pit road at lap 148, working 152. Didn't even get a complete green flag lap in. Time to check in with Larry McReynolds, sir.
Well, you know, guys, if you were watching the pre-race, Kyle Petty called this the hot dog wrapper capital of the world. And if you notice, the real problem has been the fact with these wrappers getting on the air inlet. And if you notice, they run a lot of tape here because you want to really increase the front downforce and reduce the drag. The only air that goes through there is going to go to cool the radiator. And one thing that a lot of teams have done is they really run a lot of fins per inch, which really decreases airflow through this radiator. So the big problem with this wrapper, you got to get it off there. But you know what the biggest thing, guys? I wanted to show you my new toy.
I was just going to say, I didn't know that did that, and that is really cool. It's like, you know what? Larry's got way too much.
Way too much down there,
way too many cool tools down there.
I want to see you cut that thing in half, man, or stick swords in it or something, kind of like all the other magic acts.
But I will get
there
around.
there goes Larry.
See you, Larry. Jeff Gordon, Casey Kane to pit road for fuel only. The free pass goes to Patrick Carpentier under caution at Michigan. TNT Sports at the Michigan International Speedway in Brooklyn, Michigan for the Lifelock 400. Time for some Coors Light cold hard facts. The last 13 Cup races at Michigan have been won by either a Ford or a Dodge. Ford 7, Dodge 6. The last win by a Chevy was Jeff Gordon in June of 2001. Our Coors Light cold hard facts. You see Jeff Gordon back on pit road, too fast exiting. So he will have to restart at the end of the longest line.
You know, Larry was talking about the vent or the hot dog wrappers. Go ahead. Oh, Matt was talking about the hot dog wrappers when you looked at it, you only got an inch, maybe 24 inches wide. So when you cover up 8 inches of that with a hot dog wrapper, that's a third of your cooling goes out the window right off the bat. That's why these things get hot so fast.
Jimmy Johnson is the race leader. He could have issues, Matt.
Bill, it's almost like that movie Groundhog Day for crew chief Chad Knaus. Just like last year, he's hoping for one more caution so they can bring him in and top him off. His biggest issue, though, is Jimmy says the transmission has lost first and second gear.
That's going to make it tough.
This could be ugly. If he's lost first and second on a restart and he's in front of that whole outside line, that means he's got to start in third. But he's brought him up to speed a little bit faster. Okay, Matt, I'm just going to say, if he's lost first and second, he's got 8,000 horsepower to be able to start that fast in third gear.
You can't restart without first and second like that.
Not like that. I don't think he could even start in third that fast. He pulled away from the 77 car. So he may think he's lost first gear, and he may have. And you can get by with losing first gear. The problem is when you lose a gear, all those pieces are churning in that transmission. And every time it slows down, you dump them in a different place in the transmission. So that could be an issue later on.
Hey, guys, with not having, let's just say he's lost first gear, where that's going to kill him is if he has to make especially a green flag pit stop when he goes to leave his pit box, pit road. That's where it's going to hurt him.
Yeah, because if you set your pit road speed in first gear, I don't know what you're going to do.
Yeah, he would definitely be hosed if he had his pit road. But most guys set their pit road in second gear, and on these restarts, they'll drag it down in second gear and then take off and go second to third. They didn't look when they took off just then. He brought them up to speed a little bit faster, but when he took off, that thing pulled. And if it pulled that hard in third gear, my hat's off to the guys that build engines over at Hendrick Motorsports.
A lot of torque in those things.
Tons of torque.
And there's the 88 car. We've been talking about it. I think Kyle mentioned it earlier about, he's not getting going. He just lost 4 or 5 spots in one lap because that car, they still have not fixed that car when the green flag drops. And
that's the worst thing as a driver. You lose 3 or 4 spots on a restart, knowing that if you can get it to go for green, that you'll get them back. But you got to get them back, and then that guy's driven off and left you that was up front.
Marty?
That's got to be frustrating, isn't it, Kyle, for you guys to go through that, because the car, he knows he has a good car. He knows he has a car faster than the leaders at the end of the run, but at the beginning of this run, that's where Junior loses that time. He tried to get the best restart he could, and remember, they also took 2 tires on the last stop, so those left sides are pretty old for Dale Earnhardt Jr.
There's nothing more frustrating than to pass the same 5 cars every 35 laps. Yeah. You go out there, you pass those 5 cars, there's a caution, you get back in line, you're in front of them, boom, they blast past you. Right before you pit, you pass them again, you're thinking, this is going to be good. We'll go green, we'll be able to get away from them. Boom, another caution. And that's the position he's been put in most of the day today. He can pass them at the end of the run, and he comes on one of the fastest cars, but he just cannot take advantage of these first 8 or 10 laps.
Yeah, when you lose 4 or 5 seconds on the track, it takes a lot for those guys. Those guys have to fall off a lot to make that back up.
He's hanging with them a little bit better this time, even though those guys got a battle around him. He's hanging with the 99 and the 83 and the 20 and those guys. He's a little bit better. You can bet he knows this is at this point in time in the race with 40 laps to go. He's got to make his car work, and he's got to stay with them as close as he can in these first few laps to be able to go towards the end.
Jimmy Johnson up front, and what a run for Sam Hornish Jr., who's in second. There's Edwards and Vickers.
Hornish has been impressive this year at a lot of places. I mean, we saw him at Charlotte, and then you see him go to Pocono, and it's like, man, what happened? You were so good at Charlotte. What happened? And then you see him come right back at a place like this, and that's just the inexperience of these cars, meaning stock cars. But that's the experience that he has on a racetrack like this. He's used to this racetrack. He's driven here before. So it kind of matches together, and he's such a talented guy. He's able to use what he does know from the open wheel to be able to do something in the Cup Series.
It's always good to come to a racetrack, even if you've not raced that race car at that track. If you've been at that racetrack before, it's always a lot more comfortable because you know the place. You know where the bumps are. You know where the cracks are. You know where the good restaurants are.
Oh, yeah.
All that stuff's really important.
39 to go at Michigan. Sam Hornish looking to challenge for the lead here. Coming under Jimmy Johnson. Johnson, Hornish, side by side. Sam trying to take it. He got the bonus points.
That's impressive right there. To lead in your first time, that's impressive.
Jimmy's got a little bit better run getting off the corner, so Sam's going to tuck behind him and give it a shot later.
All right, we'll keep an eye on this. Take a break, come back to Michigan. 34 laps to go here in Michigan on this 2-mile track. Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car, the Lowe's Chevy, is the race leader. Behind him, Sam Hornish Jr.
Well,
driving for Roger Penske.
We were wrong. These guys are running pretty good on 2 tires.
Yes, they are. I'm impressed by Hornish. I'm telling you, man, he is a lot faster through 3 and 4 than the 48 car. The 48 car just is better through 1 and 2. And here comes Kenseth. Kenseth had some issues on that pit stop that we documented there. but he's fighting back from it.
That's for third. Let's go back and look at Matt's pit stop. Came onto pit road for a 2-tire stop. You see they're done with the stop. The car's down. Matt leaves. Had to wait on the NASCAR official and then continued on his journey out onto the track. Now, a few moments after he left his stall, this is just part of the conversation Matt had with his crew.
She even tell NASCAR about it. Sometimes they give you a position back. He cost us the lead here. He cost us 2 spots. He was right in my way. I had to stop, so I was going to run him over.
He's on his knees praying right now for forgiveness, but I can't really do anything. I mean,
they need to fix it and put us in front of the 18 is what they should do if they want to be fair. They've done it before.
And we've been told NASCAR reviewed the situation, did not see any reason to give Matt Kenseth any positions back.
Yeah, and you know, and look at the 18 sideways. We sitting here watching it. I think that did, just as Matt said, that put the 18 in front of them. They felt like they needed to be back in front of the 18. You know, it's hard. That's a call. That's a judgment call. And like I said before, we sit here and you see NASCAR, or you see referees in basketball games and people like that get in the way sometimes. It's a call.
Yeah, and I'm going to go against you on that
one. Go, baby, go. Let's go.
Only because there was a lot of stuff that was going on. There was cars that were pulling in. I think it was Casey Kane's car was right there. I don't know if he lost a second. It could have been big, but I'm not sure he lost that much time to lose the lead on that deal right there.
I can chime in one more thing and tell you that the next time an official steps out in front of him, he'll be on the hood. He won't check
He'll be over the roof.
Because he truly believes
Right.
he needed to be put in front of somebody. He truly, so for him, he's not going to take that into account.
But
next
when you're
time.
a driver, you're going to try to get. You're going to almost aim for the guys next week if you think you can.
That's exactly right.
If you think you can get some positions back. But as a driver, you're always trying to get something.
But nobody feels worse about it than the official.
Yeah. Because they are the officials. They are not part of the game. They're not part of the game. They shouldn't be a part of the game, but they're changing the game right there.
And that's not a fun place to be down there.
No.
I mean, that's crazy down there.
No, how many times do we see NASCAR officials just get chewed on by a crew chief? You know what I mean? Now we're going to have one chewed on after the race is over by a driver, but it is, you know, and they stand there and they take it and they call up to the tower. And I love the way they call up to the tower because they blame everything on what's going on up in the tower. I'm down here on pit road. I can't do anything for you. It's up in the tower.
That's Vickers getting the 5th position from Carl Edwards. Hornish runs second, 0.3 of a second behind race leader Jimmy Johnson. Sam's best career finish is 13th. That was at Lowe's last May in the 600. He led the first laps of his Sprint Cup career just a few moments ago. Gonna work out the fuel mileage situation. Who can get there on gas? How's the transmission on the 48? Can Hornish get his first win? You gotta come back to Michigan. Looking for some excitement here in the closing laps of the Lifelock 400 at Michigan on TNT. Race leader Jimmy Johnson and second place Sam Hornish. Now this was just about a lap and a half ago.
Yeah, watch how cool this is. 77 Hornish up top. He's trying to get somebody. He's been running down low. Just gets way up there. That didn't look like much, but I'm telling you what, that was
big, man. Because he's been running in the middle of the racetrack and to the bottom, and he's been really rolling in on the 48, and all of a sudden he moves to the high side, and the first lap he goes to the high side. It's out from under him.
All right, let's find out how these guys are stacked up for the finish through the field. Here's Matt.
Bill, one of the most dramatic finishes all year took place at Phoenix when Chad Knaus was begging Jimmy Johnson to back off to save fuel more and more lap after lap. Right now, Jimmy trying to win here on fuel mileage. Chad Knaus was telling Jimmy at the last caution they were expecting to try to maybe split it halfway, expecting to have to stop. On the 77 of Sam Hornish Jr., he said his water temperature was pegged. Crew could not see any debris on the grill. They are expecting to stop on lap 188 to 90. Ralph?
The 17 of Matt Kenseth is about 4 laps short right now. They've asked him to save 4 laps worth of fuel. He said that's probably going to be a little bit too tough to do, but I'll do the best I can. He said being in this draft on this 2-mile track makes it a little bit tough, Lindsay.
Ralph, the 83 of Brian Vickers is running fourth. Long story short, they will not make it on fuel. They're 5 or 6 short. They last pitted on 148, took 2 tires, so they're waiting for their opportunity, Matt.
Cloud cover is helping Greg Biffle with a loose race car, but it's not going to help him with fuel mileage. He's still around 4 to 5 laps short.
following up behind him, Carl Edwards. They last pitted and took 2 right sides on 147. His crew chief saying stay focused. They as well are 4 laps short.
And there you see the 77 of Sam Hornish Jr. headed for his stall.
Yeah, and watch them when they clean the grill. We heard the pit whip when we were doing it. The reporters say it may be spitting some water. His grill may be dirty.
Right side tires only.
They've not gone anywhere there yet.
No, they usually get it right here.
Before you take off, get it clean. Let's go. Let's go.
Took just that extra bit of time to try and clean the grill.
But they've kind of done like Larry talked about. They've split this. They've split the 50 laps or whatever and split it halfway down the middle. Look at the trash on the front of this grill.
There's a lot of trash down there.
You see the trash. You see where the white part is, right above under the Charger. Look how much he takes off there. My goodness. It is the hot dog wrapper capital of the world, I'm telling you. And it just bit Hornish and those guys because they had to short pit and pit early because of that.
Okay, let's keep going through the field. Marty?
Let's pick it up with Kyle Busch. This may be a race for fuel mileage. Also, rain is about 40 minutes away. We think we'll beat that for the end of this race. Kyle Busch says he's about 10 laps short. They didn't get the car completely full last time for our championship leader. Behind him is teammate Tony Stewart. He's about 6 laps short. His car a little too tight. When you have a tight race car, that usually means you use a little more fuel, which is not good for Tony Stewart and his race team.
Taking a look at David Reagan's car right now, he matches his car number. He's 6 laps short on the fuel for his machine right now, so it's a little too tough for him. Also, the 84 of A.J. Allmendinger cannot go the distance in his Red Bull entry.
Ralph Friedel Earnhardt Jr., he is in the 10th position. He's been a little upset with lap traffic. They are only 2 laps short. If we can get a caution, Larry Mack, Dale Jr. and that team might risk it.
Yeah, I believe the guys sitting in the catbird seat are the guys that came to pit road on that last caution around lap 154 to 155. Casey Kane in the 9 car pitted with 45 laps to go, and I'm watching the scoring monitor. I think they have slowed him down to try to save fuel, but if I look back at some of the earlier green flag stops, the 9 car was one of the first cars to hit pit road, but another 2 cars that I'm looking at, they've slowed down. Jamie McMurray in that 26 car, he pitted basically with 45, 44 laps to go, and the cat behind him, Kevin Harvick, in the 29 car, he's another one. I think those 3 cars, should we stay caution-free, they are the cars that sit in the catbird seat.
Hey, Larry, Larry, you can see the monitor, right? The scoring monitor?
Yes.
Okay, look back. If you look back to like Michael Waltrip and Denny Hamlin, they're almost like a second slower.
Well, they're banking on those cars I just talked about running out of fuel, but trust me, I think one of those will make it to the end without stopping and without running out of fuel.
Jimmy Johnson, the race leader. Brian Vickers is second. Then it's Kenseth, Biffle, and Edwards.
That's the one thing about this car that has amazed me. The introduction of this car to the sport has changed it from being flat-out racing on the racetrack all the time to where you get down to... We're getting ready to pit. You heard him say 4,600, Jimmy, right there. So that's... But it's changed a lot of this to a strategy race.
Coming to you, Matt.
Bill, this is one of those places that Jimmy Johnson would love to add to his racing resume. A year ago, he led 56 laps. Fuel mileage cost him the victory. Chad Knaus counting him down into his box. At this juncture, going for a right side change only. Sean Curlin clears the windshield with a tear-off. Now they're going to go 4 tires. Laps going on. And they got a lot of...
So Johnson heads off of pit road. And there is Brian Vickers, second a week ago. Pitted on lap 148. We expect him to pit next time by. And here comes Kyle Busch. Marty.
Yeah, and Bill, again, they did not get it all the way full. They had to come to pit road. His teammate Tony Stewart will also come to pit road. Just for your reference, Tony Eury Jr. told Dale Earnhardt Jr., slow your lap time times way down. There are cars behind us that can make it all the way. We've got to try to do this on fuel mileage. Kyle Busch was asked how his car was. He said, slow. Not very good right now. Car way too tight for Kyle Busch. They make an air pressure jack with 2 tires and the fuel to make it to the end, Bill.
Thanks, Marty. Matt Biffle headed for you.
Bill, the 2-time winner, making his way to his pit box. Greg Irwin telling Biffle to go on the jack. He only needs a few seconds of fuel while he's entering his pit box. Chad Canals told Jimmy Johnson, hammer down, let it all go. Meanwhile, Biffle slid to a stop, right side tires going on. Meanwhile, up here, trouble for Biffle. He has run over his air hose, costly mistake. This is going to be a costly penalty. Snyder?
Matt, for Tony Stewart, his race car's a little too tight. What they did is they went down 1 round on the left rear wedge bolt. It's going to be 4 tires for Stewart. Zipadelli making that call, and the fuel he needs to get to the end, maybe those tires will make a difference for Tony Stewart.
That's the problem with going on the jack on the Biffle deal.
Yes.
Is the front tire changer has got to get around the front of that car. Because when they let that jack down, man, the driver goes.
You got to go on the tire changer. You cannot go on the jack. If you go on the jack, he's going in just a sec. Look at that.
And he got the hose hung up underneath the fender.
But it's the angle of pursuit. He's got to run towards the DLP pit. The tire changer does. But he caught his hose, and there's nothing he can do about that. When they dropped it, he didn't have enough hose draped around to the other side of the car.
Answers the NASCAR call for the penalty. Biffle lost the shot at winning last week.
You got to do. I thought you dropped the hose. All you got to do is stand in front of the car.
Yeah. Easier said than done to stand in front of a car. Let me just say that.
Pass through for Biffle. Lindsay.
The 83 Brian Vickers is in, and guys, remember they were 5 to 6 laps short. They're giving him 2 tires. His spotter just told him the consensus up here is that Carl Edwards can go the whole way on fuel.
That'll be stout if Carl can go the whole way. You know,
Carl Edwards, well, they're teammates, Kenseth and Edwards. They run 1-2. They both pitted on lap 148. Matt coming to pit road right now. He will give up the race lead.
Watch your speed. You already busted a couple of them.
With 13 to go.
He's fun.
Ralph.
Here comes Matt Kenseth. He could not make it. He needed to get 4 laps, just couldn't get it done. He asked for a slight chassis adjustment, taking just 2 tires and the fuel that he needs. Trouble with the right front, but they get him away, but it cost him.
that was an incredibly slow pit stop, and you saw what happened. When he hit the lugs and couldn't get the tire off and had to go back again, that threw all the timing off. The tire wasn't to the wall. The way the NASCAR rules dictate, the tire has to be back to the wall. It throws your total timing off when a mistake happens. Some teams practice making a mistake to say, okay, now how do I recover from this mistake?
Exactly.
Because when you don't know how to recover, and that was just that one split second that took it from a 7-second pit stop to a 9.5, and we saw what, here's Carl on pit road right here, but we saw what the 17 does getting in. He could make time.
Couldn't make it, Lindsay.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you and Kyle were exactly right. That would have been too down, as we told you before. He was 4 laps down. They're going to give him no adjustments this time to save time. They'll give him fuel and tires.
That took a while, too.
You know what? I am blown away at how there's a hiccup in almost every stop so far.
And did you see when they didn't drop the jack until the front tire guy was on his way around?
Yeah, maybe they're watching us on TV. Maybe they're watching us.
Well, on Biffle's team, it was like they dropped the jack, and that tire guy better been around. So it was a little bit. It was that 1 second that made a difference.
1 second is the difference between gaining a second or losing 4, and then 20 by coming on a pass through.
Top 3 cars are David Reagan, A.J. Allmendinger, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. They all 3 pitted on lap 148. The question is, can they make it? Behind them, a number of drivers led by Casey Kane, Jamie McMurray, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex.
Menard pitted, so I know he can make it.
The big question here is, can Kane, McMurray?
That is the big question. The big question out of those top few, there's a couple of guys in there, and can they make it? Because when Menard and those guys, and I didn't see that entire group, but I was impressed because they were far enough back. They had gotten a lucky dog. They had nothing to lose.
Well, we mentioned it earlier. It's like, you know what? You got to gamble at that point. You don't have a car fast enough, so you may as well roll the dice. Since this thing goes green all the way, go for the fuel mileage. Yeah. Steal one.
And I got to give Larry a tip of the hat, too, here towards the end of the race. 3 of his bullet points. no mistakes on pit road and hot dog wrappers. They've both come into play here today with the cars overheating and have to pit short or have to pit early because of that. And mistakes that are made on pit road are losing these guys.
And he had that.
He's got the calculator, man.
out down there, too.
And he always has that.
Yes, look good.
And just showing us that cool body thing coming off the car.
That was cool. Yeah, I give him a tip of the hat to the body coming off the car, too.
That's David Reagan.
He is magic. He made a car
He
levitate.
is magic.
He made it levitate.
Okay, Marty, what do you know?
Well, this strategy down here, Bill, is unbelievable. The race for the win could be behind David Reagan and these guys. They told Dale Earnhardt Jr. about 15 laps ago, save as much as you can, back your times way off. And then when Casey Kane got close to him, they said, pick it back up. And Jr. said, what am I doing? He said, we're trying to go to the end on fuel. They were 2 laps short when this run started. They're hoping that Jr. has saved those 2 laps on the racetrack. They're not going to come back down pit road, and that's the third place team in the championship standings.
You can't come back if you're that close. I mean, if you come back, you're not gonna win the race.
No.
So you're that close. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go for it.
In answer to the NASCAR buddy question today, it may be the day that Dale Jr. wins this race because this may pay off for him. But I'm gonna tell you something. 2 laps at Michigan. That's 4 miles, man. That's a long way. That's a long, long way. So it's tough to save that, especially when he's been running by himself.
There you see A.J. Allmendinger on pit road. So now David Reagan is the leader. Earnhardt Jr. is about 10 seconds behind that 6 car.
Did Ralph said Reagan had a shot at making it on fuel? Ralphie, what are they saying on the 6?
Well, we had said that they were going to be 6 laps short, and that's spot on from crew chief Jimmy Fennick because he's getting ready to enter pit road now.
There we go.
And they're just going to take a splash of gas and get him back out on the racetrack. No tires, no adjustments. He told them, make sure you hit your spot. Don't lock up your tires. He slides it a little bit. They clean the grill. There's the fuel. He's away.
And we've seen a couple of different strategies here. We've seen guys pit with 20 or with 15 laps to go, or between 10 and 15, and not run it all the way down to 4 or 5 laps to go. And then you see a guy like Reagan run it down to 6 laps to go before he makes his stop and go.
You see McMurray. He's backing way off. It looked like he was backing way off.
Both of those guys are trying to. Well, they're trying to back off and not give up position.
Yeah, it's like, I want to race you, but I'm going to let off at the start-finish line,
That's
so don't pass me.
That's for the lead. That's Jamie McMurray in the 26 and Earnhardt Jr. for the lead with 6 to go.
Aren't you better off just, you guys hook up and just draft a little bit and save gas?
Instead of running side by side, but this is for the lead, almost 2 seconds off the pace. You know what I mean? That's the best part about it. You've got guys out there that are running a second or more, a second and a half faster than these guys.
But here's the thing, McMurray stopped 7 laps later than Earnhardt Jr. So McMurray should be in good shape.
If McMurray stops 7 laps later, he should be running the wheels off of it right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Junior's doing the right thing by laying in behind him and trying to save as much as possible.
So much for that.
So much for saving.
Every time he pulls out, his fuel mileage just goes down when he pulls side by side like that. These guys are racing.
It's like having a gauge and just watching fuel flow. When you mash that accelerator, fuel flow goes up. When fuel flow goes up, it's got to come from somewhere, and it's coming from that tank. And if you're trying to save it, this is no way to save it by leading.
Marty, get in here quick.
Well, Dale Jr. didn't know if he was supposed to race McMurray. He thought he was supposed to be racing Casey Kane. So when McMurray went around him, he goes, is he now the leader? You got to tell me that. I didn't know he was the leader. So then he started racing McMurray, was able to get back around him. Or not so quick here.
Oh, and McMurray has got to race the wheels off Earnhardt because he doesn't know if Junior can make it on fuel or not. So he can't gamble. If he's got a little bit more fuel, he's got to go.
And this is Casey Kane right behind him. We've run 400 miles here almost. In these 3 cars, you can almost throw a blanket on. Now, they didn't do this by racing. They did it by strategy. They did it by a lot of different things to get to this point. But this is pretty cool stuff when it rolls down. You've got 3 guys here with almost 2 or 3 different strategies. They're just trying to figure it out, and nobody knows when to go. It's like running a marathon. When do you kick? When do you kick?
Right.
When do you start your sprint? And this is going to be the deal. With 3 laps to go, 6 miles, Junior thinks he's a couple of laps short. You can hear the fans, man. They are cheering, man.
On their feet.
For Junior right now, because this could be the day. But when do you kick?
And another thing you got to be careful right now if you're McMurray is not to be right on Earnhardt's tail, because if he runs out of fuel, he's going to be all up in him, and there's the caution is out.
Caution is out. Sam Hornish has spun off of turn 4.
Ooh, this could be...
And that is ugly.
That could be trouble now for Earnhardt.
That's trouble
because
for
we're going to go to a green-white checkered finish, and you have to assume they just calculated the fuel mileage to 200 laps. Here's the. Go ahead.
I was looking at the wrong car, so I can't.
Yeah.
There he is.
There he is. And he saved it so many times today to have lost it right there. But he did a good job not coming back up the racetrack in front of everybody. But this changes everything.
Another thing cool about these cars that we're seeing, Kyle, is you can do this and not wreck.
Last year, if you'd have spun like that, you'd have been back glass deep in the outside wall.
Yeah.
These cars, they're able, just like the trucks and the other series, they're able to spin. You see Earnhardt Jr. on the flat trying to pick up as much fuel as possible, because if he does starve it for just that instant, then it has to crank back up. Now you see him accelerate. He'll accelerate like this a little bit and cut it off and try to coast. Watch him pass the car. More than likely, he's coasting right here. More than likely, this thing is cut off and he's just coasting.
Hey, guys, you know who I think's in the catbird seat? If you look back there right now in the 5th position, he has 2 fresh right side tires. We know he has enough fuel. Brian Vickers in that 83 car, it's going to be a single file restart, and we know he has had a better race car than McMurray, Kane, Harvick, the guys, even Earnhardt Jr. that's in front of him. I think he's the guy sitting in the catbird seat.
Larry, if you're a crew chief, do you go home with a headache after this?
Oh, I got a headache, and I'm not even a crew chief.
Okay, let's see what Junior's doing right here. Just shut it off, just like Kyle said, exactly what Kyle said. He's coasting it. He just shut the engine off. That's how he's saving fuel right now.
They've told the 88 to stay behind the caution car.
And it's hard to stay behind the caution car when you're trying to save fuel, and you've got to drag back. And then when you drag back, you can do this when you're back in the pack. Everybody does it when you're back in the pack. But when you're the leader and you have to be right there, he's coasting along. It's tough to save fuel, man. He's in the worst position he can be in.
Yeah, he just looked up in the mirror and saw all those guys come down pit road now to get fuel.
See, he needs to drop back here with
the
9.
26.
Yeah, he needs to drop back, 100 yards, 200 yards, and then run it up and try to monitor as much as he can. But it's tough, man. It's tough.
This race going past the 200 lap mark has affected a number of cars, even the ones that started on 155. McMurray couldn't pit, or couldn't make it, had to pit.
That's surprising. If he had 7 laps, he must not have really had 7 laps.
Yeah, he didn't have 7 laps.
Or he wouldn't have come in.
Either they didn't get it fuel. Oh, Michael just hit the cone right there coming out. But he was forced over there. He was forced over there, so let's be honest about that. But, I mean, this whole thing has changed. I don't care.
And if Junior, if he's that close, boy, I mean, that's the last thing he wanted to see right now was this deal. He could have, if he had a shot of pulling it off, it's trouble now.
And the last thing he wants to see is a guy spin and not hit the wall and not put any debris on the racetrack, and then they ride around for 5 laps.
Right.
He wants this to be a quickie yellow. A quickie yellow.
When the race reaches its scheduled conclusion and the caution flag is out, NASCAR will make one attempt at a green-white checkered finish. We'll get the green flag, a lap, then the white flag, then the checkered flag. So it'll be 2 laps, 1 attempt. If the caution comes out after we go back to green, the race is over. NASCAR will use scoring loops and videotape. Check out the Coke Zero in-car camera on NASCAR.com's Race Buddy.
And I'll tell you another thing he's got to worry about, Kyle. He's running down there on the bottom. He's picking up all that garbage right now on his tires.
On his tires. He's not the only one. The 9 cars down there, the 8 cars down. There's other guys that are having this issue. This is where this could be bad. And this is where this is on a restart. If this thing stumbles on a restart with all those guys behind him,
they're just going to pack
it could get, and we've seen that in other forms of racing.
Did we see a little shot there?
76 races since Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been to victory lane.
He's 1 attempt at a green white checker too, just so you know.
Marty?
Bill, I can't describe to you the nerves down here in the Dale Earnhardt Jr. pits. I just asked Tony Eury Jr., are you going to have enough? He said, I have no idea what's in the car. But let's give Tony Jr. credit, not lose sight of that before anything happens. He put him in a position to win the race. He got him a top 5 out of Charlotte with a wrecked race car because of strategy. Got him a top 5 out of Pocono because of strategy. So he has put him in another position to either win or get a top 5 out of this, fuel or not. It's been a good call.
And you can see he's trying to scrub the tires. It's hard to scrub the tires when you're coasting a car, but every time he'll fire it up, and he'll give it 1 or 2 cranks, but he's got a lot on his mind right now.
There's a man, I can't even imagine what he's going through right now, because you don't, just like Tony Eury said, I don't know how much fuel's in that tank. Dale doesn't know how much fuel's in that tank.
Coming to get the green, Earnhardt Jr. last stopped on 148, Kane in second, 155, Vickers in third on lap 187, Martin 155, Kenseth 188.
Back and forth, so your box will be full.
1 attempt at a green-white checkered finish. Got cars on the apron. Pace car to pit road. Boy, if that car doesn't go, it's going to be big. Green flag. They bunch up behind Earnhardt.
Comes Vickers down on the bottom, taking a look underneath the 8-car.
Kenseth going high, yep, in the 17. Junior.
He's got gas right there, man. That thing is going up off that corner.
Looks like Mark Martin might be out of fuel.
Clear by 5 over the 9.
The 8-car is out of fuel. Mark Martin.
Still clear by 5 there.
Junior's right back down on the bottom. He's been up at the wall the whole time. Now he's right back down on the bottom, looking for that shortest way around the racetrack. And he knows there's grip there. You can hear the fans, man.
This will be the last lap of the race. White flag at Michigan.
Oh, we got somebody coming off the platform.
Caution is out. The race is over.
But remember, Junior has to maintain speed coming back around. He's just got to maintain his speed. We went through this with Biffle. Whatever it was at Texas. So as long as he can maintain, there's the answer to your race buddy question. Dale Jr. breaks it at Michigan.
Before the race, Lindsey talked to him earlier this week about the pressure to win, and he said it's put up or shut up. This might be the day he's able to put it up.
And you got to say, that's the one good thing about Dale Jr. When he took this ride, he said, look, I'm man enough to take this ride because I know it's all on me. Because we know the Hendricks organization can win races. It's all on me. That's a big deal for Dale Jr., man. That's a big man that stuck out there and took that.
Big deal for Tony Ewers Jr., too. Those guys made some great calls down there that put him in this position.
9-car's going to...
Yeah, baby! Way to go, Tony Jr.
76 races since he last went to victory lane, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the winner at Michigan.
That's incredible.
That's pretty exciting.
That's pretty gutsy.
That's a great move on that race team's part to gamble and put him in that position.
Yeah, great.
Don't
great
think
call.
we're going to see any burnouts.
No, great call and great driving by Dale Jr. because he had to save some fuel, so that's great driving also.
Let's go down to Marty Snyder.
I've been around Tony Jr. a long time since he was a young man. I've never seen him so relieved or so nervous before that. And he's out of gas. Junior just radioed in. He's out of gas. He's stuck on the racetrack. Was that the most nervous you've been towards the end of a race, Tony?
I'm telling you what, this is pretty special. I've lost a lot of races up here, me and Pops. And I'm telling you what, it don't get no sweeter than this right now. I mean, this team's been real close. We had a couple took away from us, and I told these guys we got to get our A game back together so we can get ready for this chase. And they stepped up all day, and man, it's awesome.
Can you take me through the emotion of the winless streak? I mean, I know this is a big load off for your race team.
Well, I mean, I don't look at it as a winless streak. I mean, we won Daytona and we won stuff, and but this is their first points race, so they'll get off his back about it. But that kid's been driving his heart out all year, and he deserves it. And man, it's just awesome to be able to win a race and get that over with, and let's just go get a championship.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., your winner, Michigan, Bill.
Do we know drama? TNT knows drama, or what?
All right, now it's time for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile Monster Moment. And this would be it. This is the caution that brought out the final yellow flag. And that's Junior's crew on the wall. Patrick Carpentier has climbed from his car back to Michigan on TNT. We're going to victory lane with Junior. Lifelock is proud to congratulate Dale Earnhardt Jr. for locking up victory today in the Lifelock 400 from Michigan. His first win in 76 races. Junior's made it to victory lane. Matt Yoakum is there.
He opened up the season with a 9-points All-Star win at the shootout. Congratulations, Dale. I know this one is big. What's it mean to you to finally win for Mr. H, but also win a fuel mileage race?
Well, I didn't know. We didn't have enough gas to make it. Look at that caution come out. We had it set up to win if we didn't have the caution, but thanks to the fans, happy Father's Day. Congratulations to my team. They deserve it. Congratulations to Rick. Come on in here.
Congratulations, buddy.
You did a good job giving me everything I needed.
You walked up to the car, Mr. Hendrick. What did you tell him?
Well, he told me maybe I shouldn't come today because he wasn't running that good. So I said, I'm glad I didn't stay at home based on what you told me. Great job. proud of you, buddy.
Because of family throughout the years at Hendrick Motorsports, this win is special for you and for Dale, but why is it special for you?
Well, you know, just, you know, we started off and he won the Clash and then the 150, and we said we don't have to worry about that winning a race now. And then nobody counted it because it wasn't a points race. So, I mean, it's just, we've been waiting for this, so been so close. But that's all right. No,
Happy Father's Day, everybody.
So how concerned were you on fuel?
It is what it is. If it's going to have enough or it ain't. They run out, coming to the white, stumbled off the straightaway. So we were close. We were going to stumble to the finish. Probably not win the race, but the caution saved us. They can write what they want, but we won one.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. scores his first points win since Richmond of 2006. His first ever victory in the Cup Series at Michigan.
Fourth win for Chevrolet in 2008. Junior led 5 times for 14 laps, including the last 8. 14 of the 15 races this season have been won from a top 10 starting position. Junior and Rick Hendrick in victory lane. The celebration continues in victory lane at Michigan. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the race winner in a thrilling finish. So we've heard from Junior. Several other guys had good races today. Couldn't get to victory lane, and earlier Ralph Shaheen caught up with Casey Kane.
Casey, if that caution had come out, did you have enough fuel to take a run at Junior?
We easily had the fuel. You know, Junior, I don't know if he did. He won it, so he must have. But we easily had the fuel. We pitted there at the end, and from there I run 42 laps saving fuel. It was kind of our, you know, we could have run around 10th today probably, and Kenny thought fuel would be the way to go, and it worked for us. So it feels good to get a good finish, really good finish for just the team effort, and everybody we kind of tried some strategy. They tried strategy on us last week, and we beat a lot of cars today because of strategy.
Really good finishes is something this 9 car is getting very accustomed to.
Brian Vickers is stout, top 5 finish, but you're not happy, are you?
No, I'm not real happy. You know, I mean, I'm really proud of everybody at Red Bull. I mean, we had an awesome car, especially on long runs, really the car to beat. But I don't know what happened there at the end. We passed the 8 car with like 2 to go before the caution came out. We were 7 car lengths ahead of him. They told us we had to let him go or they were going to black flag us. I mean, that in my mind, that pretty much cost us the race. I mean, we could have got by the 2 guys in front of us, but the 17 was much better on restarts, and without that buffer of the 8 car in between us, it was hard to hold him off. I knew we could get him back, but and then the caution came out there before the white flag. But you know, I'm really disappointed. I don't know what all that was about. It wasn't even a close call. It just a bad call.
A frustrated Brian Vickers will leave Michigan with a 4th place finish.
Matt, you were talking about on the radio that you were 4 laps short, and they asked you to try to save it. Was that just too tough of a task to do here today?
Yeah, 4 laps a lot. That's 8 miles, even after that one caution, and you know, we weren't going to save that. You know, we're just kind of in a box there, but it's just weird the way these races are working out. You know, it's a lot of strategy, but I really got to thank these guys. These Carhartt guys did a great job in this Ford Fusion. This thing was really fun to drive. We had our car driving great this weekend, and if we didn't have the fastest car, we had one of the top 3 or 4 fastest cars, and I wish we could have raced for today, and just, you know, I think it was going to be close if we didn't get that last caution.
It was a strong performance, and he comes home in the 3rd.
Thanks, Ralph. A lot of people in victory lane celebrating Father's Day at Michigan, and our coverage of the Lifelock 400 continues in a moment on TNT. The Lifelock 400 from Michigan on TNT, brought to you by Lifelock, the #1 in identity theft protection. By Sprint, proud sponsor of the 2008 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Speed is beautiful. By Volt, drinks like a soda, kicks like an energy drink. Volt, get to it. And by McDonald's, come taste the new Southern-style chicken sandwich at McDonald's. Take a look at the point standings. After 15 races, Kyle Busch gained a little bit of ground on Jeff Burton. Junior with the win, just 84 points back now. Boy, there are going to be some great stories written we'll be reading tomorrow. Then you take a look at these guys behind the 12th position. David Reagan, Matt Kenseth now just 14 back. Next Sunday, NASCAR on TNT heads west to California. Coverage begins at 3:30 Eastern with NASCAR on TNT Live, presented by Castrol GTX. That's followed by the Allstate Countdown to Green, then the Toyota Save Mart 350 from Sonoma. That's next Sunday on TNT. Coming up next, a special presentation of the Bill Engvall Show. We're headed to NASCAR.com for the Jack Daniels post-race show. Happy Father's Day and congratulations to Junior.